All right, so those of you that are on the Zoom, if you're here to appear on an item, either that's on the agenda or just in the appearance section, when we get to the appearance section, if you could raise your virtual hand, if everybody knows how to do that. If not, just unmute your mic and just say, I'm here for that. And we'll try to go in order for anybody that's on Zoom.
Can you all hear us?
Brad's giving us the thumbs up, so that's a good sign. If you're here just to observe, that's fine. But if you're wanting to speak during that appearance section, just make sure that you either raise your virtual hand or just unmute yourself and chime in, and I'll try to call on you in order as best we can. All right, so at 6:37, we'll call the meeting to order, and Dan, we'll do, if you can note the roll call. And then I have a shift in the agenda to move item 6A, which is the discussion and consideration of the proposal of the certified survey map updates for lot 100 through 300 River Place, to move that after item 3 and before item 4, and to move item 6D, which is the discussion and consideration of the 2026 Public Works capital budget request, up to become 6A rather than 6D. Any questions from the committee members? Hearing none, we can then move on to the approval of the minutes from the June 4th meeting. Need a motion.
I move approval.
Second. All right, any corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes have been approved. Moving to item 6A up, and this is the discussion consideration of the proposed certified survey map for lots 100 through 300 River Place. Dan or Doug, I'll let you guys jump
We
us off.
need a motion to do that.
To do the,
To move the CSM out of order.
So, I'll make a motion to approve your agenda changes. as
All right.
proposed.
is there a second? All right. Any other questions, concerns? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we can officially do 6A, which is now 3A. Or 3, 7, 1, whatever you want to call it.
Thank you.
Doug or Dan?
Just here.
Yep.
And just something want to come up as well. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. The request this evening is for a certified survey map. This is for the lots of 100 to 300 River Place. This is associated with a new redevelopment project down there. Currently 2 buildings and a couple different parcels. The plans in the approved in the general development plan would have 2 new residential buildings going in a phased approach. And this certified survey map is needed to really clean up the lot lines down there and just get this ready. The proposal right now would have the western building closest to pediatric dental developing first, with the eastern building to come after that. The ordinance has changed a little bit as far as the land divisions go for certified survey maps. This was recommended in one meeting with the Plan Commission back on July 14th, recommended to City Council. I did want to bring this forward to Public Works Committee this evening, just given some of the easements that are in place. They're both utility easements as well as access easements, and seeking a motion to take and recommend this to City Council. Also joined by a representative from the surveying team as well here, who can probably go into some more detail on it.
Dan, so you're licensed civil engineer
pull it up?
on survey side of the project. I don't have experience with.
Doug, will you help him pull it up?
Yeah.
That way, you're probably gonna need to point to something about, here's the easement.
Now you realize
For those online,
you have to do that.
Those online, do you have a shared screen?
Yeah. Well, not yet, but hopefully.
Yeah, so we're looking at proposed lots 1 and 2 here. I think the existing ones are numbered 1, 5, and 6. I don't think I have too much to add to the summary. So the one towards the bottom of the page, lot 2 would actually be fit the phase 1 building. Lot 1 would be the second phase. There is an existing commercial building on lot 1 that's going to be remaining during phase 1. And that will be removed for phase 2 for a second residential building.
I know one of the questions that came up in a different committee, and it had to do with the new line that's being drawn between the two, and that there was gonna be enough distance between the building that's remaining on lot 1 with the new line.
Yep.
And where it was exactly drawn.
Yes, that new line is very close to the existing commercial building on lot 1. The reason for that is to provide a required fire code distance for the proposed building that's gonna be on lot 2, and we do have a draft cross-access agreement that's gonna allow maintenance for that existing building that they can go. It'll be an agreement between lot 1 and 2 for maintenance.
Doug, did that satisfy the major questions that we had in that other group?
It did. One of the recommendations from planning commission was to work with city attorney Cole and make sure that he's comfortable with those documents. I brought that to his attention today, and we'll be working on that in the interim.
And then can you go over any of the utility easements?
Yes, I think that'll be the next page.
Yeah, so the main. Step around. The main utility easement is the kind of 48-foot wide sanitary storm and water main easement. Kind of along, let's see, the north and east side of lot 1 and 2. And the phase 1 is gonna have a proposed sanitary manhole within that easement that the service will tie into. The water service is gonna be from the west side, which is at the bottom of the page, might be getting caught off a little bit. There's a 15-foot wide public water main easement on the west side.
And that water main easement also doubles as that easement for the clean out for the lagoon.
That's my understanding. I believe there's public access that way as well, closest to the existing boardwalk access, which my understanding is to remain.
Yep, yeah, that boardwalk access is to remain. I think we're just removing a section of sidewalk for our water main connection there. Yep, replace.
And nope, is Brad here for this or Brad's here for something?
Brad's here for the capital budget.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, there was a part of the packet in which our third-party engineers were making a number of recommended changes. Some, I couldn't check them all, at least a couple of them weren't made. If we approve this, are we approving it or recommending it, assuming all changes were made?
The expectation is that that would be the case. So the motion from planning commission recommending to council included that those edits from the letter be addressed prior to final recording. So it's typical that the document that you see this evening still does not have those edits incorporated.
Right.
So we'll work most likely after any council action with the applicant sort of administratively to make sure they're addressed, and before there's any signature or recording taking place, it's fully squared away.
Okay.
If not, we need a motion for a recommendation to council.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is passed. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you might have to do that.
Yeah. Undo what you did.
Each other.
There's some new sheets.
Right, start there.
Thank you.
There's a seat. Sit down, yeah.
There is an empty seat if
And over here.
Seat here. Alright, so now I think we're moving on to item 4, which is the public appearance section. And this section is for anyone to appear on an item that is typically not on the agenda. Many of you that are signed up to speak on the capital budget item, I have a feeling that you might want to speak beyond just the capital request, that you might have other comments or questions that go beyond the capital request. So I would encourage you to even add it to the public appearance section if you're wanting to go beyond the capital budget, purely money standpoint. And I have them in order. There was one individual here that's not for the well stuff, so yours is actually on top. You were here first. And this is Lisa Rogers
Yes.
at 5108 Maywood Road, and you want to speak regarding the school drop off on Maywood and some traffic concerns. The floor is yours.
Okay, so in the morning, anywhere from 7:20 to whatever time the parents are done dropping off their kids, they're literally parking in front of my driveway and leaving their car and walking down to the school. And it's not just my driveway, it's my driveway, my neighbor's driveway, anybody on the other side of the road from the walk path down to the school. All those homes, those driveways are getting blocked every morning. Parents have parked on the crosswalk when the crossing guard is not there on time, they'll park right on the crosswalk. And the behavior is pretty appalling from some of these parents. I have asked then a couple of years back, I would ask the principal, and they would assure me that they talked to the parents, that's not a drop-off zone. I'm like, okay, well, that actually went nowhere ever. And then, couple times I've had to drive across the lawn to get my car back in the driveway if I happen to be coming back. It's usually during school pickup, like I'd be coming home later in the day. Literally can't get in my driveway and there's nowhere to park on the street, so I'm going across the grass to get in my driveway. Unacceptable. So 3 or 4 people have been ticketed. And then I asked the Monona Police, what should I do about this? And they said, file a complaint online, so I did that. Got lost. Then it got found and it's been lost ever since again. And then the last police officer I talked to said, why don't you bring this up with the Public Works and see if we can't maybe put some yellow lines where 4 feet is, so that they stop blocking these driveways. I've seen that in other communities, but it would maybe be just on the 5 homes that are on the opposite side of the walk path. And there's no parking on the other side of the road. This is a very narrow road. There's room for 1 car to go through, because you've got the walk path. And the cars parked, so there's not room for 2 cars to pass. And they can't just leave them, they gotta do a U-turn in front of it. It's a disaster there every morning and every afternoon. And honestly, feel like some people maybe don't realize they're doing it, because I do see people get out of their car and look, and I'm like, I see them like go like this, and I'm like, you're supposed to give me 4 feet, not be flush with my grass or over. And so maybe they don't really understand that ordinance is 4 feet. And if we put a yellow line on some of those driveways, maybe that would curb some of that. See what I did there?
All right, well done, well done.
Yeah, curb some of that.
All right, well, thank you, Lisa.
So that's my spiel.
Thank you.
But it's a hot issue, because I've been stalked by one of those parents, so.
Lisa, can you put your email in there or something for me, please?
Yeah, sure, thanks. Okay, thank you for listening.
That's okay. Let's see, the next item we have is Ann Wellman. I'm not gonna be able to have everybody's last name, so some people are gonna get lucky. 4529 Winco Road, and wants to speak against there's a parking lot proposal listed and non-sustainable usage of public park space.
Correct. So, I'm addressing the non-sustainable usage of the public park space that is being proposed. 3 items that I feel that are non-sustainable. One is the radiant heat. The other is pollution runoff. And then also the Public Works additional time for maintenance of the SWAT. Beginning with urban heat islands with radiant heat. Asphalt can emit an additional 150 watts per square meter in infrared radiation compared to bare soil surfaces. Heat absorption leads to accumulated heat, leading to higher temperatures being emitted from the pavement. Absorbing 95% of the sun's energy which is then radiated back into our atmosphere. This is non-sustainable. Another one is the pollutant runoff. This is a factor that you have to have the average of rainfall compared with runoff of similar parking lots in the area. I drove around and found 2 parking lots today that are our urban island heating islands, Lot A. I'll have you pass those on if you don't mind, and Lot B. So these are lots that people never park in. One has dumpsters in it, and the other one people are sleeping in cars. So it's calculated that the pollutant load is then, let's see, I'm sorry, go put my glasses back down, sorry there. So the first one is the first flush, which is the highest concentration, which is when you have a runoff, that's the first flush is then going into right to the lake sewer runoffs. Because that's where your closest little runoff is. Next is treatment, and you have to consider the impact on the storm water treatment practices of pollutant loads and runoff volume. This again is non-sustainable. The last one is the public works. I guess what I see this as is that plowing is cheaper than mowing. And that's about all I can say for putting in a parking lot that will accommodate, what, 20 people? 3 hours an evening? Or maybe what, 5, 7 nights? So for 360 days, we get to look at that parking lot. Thank you.
Next I have,
Brian, are we allowed to, I'm not sure I understood some of the points that Ann was raising. Am I allowed to ask for clarification?
Yeah.
Could you let me know which parking lot you're referring to?
The 2 parking lots are ones that are often adjacent to the Dream Park area. One is over by the Emily, is it Derrick parking, the where the, I know people fish in the spring. But otherwise, it's 360 days an empty lot. And then the other lot is on the north side of the park there, which is, there's 2 dumpsters. And again, that sits 365 days a day, just radiating that heat, thank you. And now you're proposing one in my neighborhood. Thank you.
Yes, I'm not sure I understand the one that we're proposing in your neighborhood.
At Waterman Way Park.
Oh,
Parking next to the.
Well,
because of Wells,
Right.
the concrete pad.
Right.
Okay,
Well, there's a parking
And
area
parking.
that's proposed also.
okay,
I believe it's 10 spaces,
Off-street angle.
thank you, thank you.
10 spaces, which I guess is maybe in between one of those 2 photos that I presented, because they're 2 different size lots.
right, next we have David Thompson.
Speak, I just wanted
Okay, I'm
to
sorry.
register.
I didn't see that far down the list. Yeah, so he wanted to register against the well number 4 funding. Yeah, I guess I'm keeping these in order. Okay. Next we have James Webb.
Levendorfer. Yes, I don't need to speak, but I'm totally against well number 4 being put in Waterman Park. It's a horrendous idea.
Thank you, James. Next I have Fran.
Peppercorn,
Thank you.
registering against the well foresight.
Okay, awesome. And I have your address here, so we'll go through that. And then Tom,
I'm also registering against.
and that's well number 4. And I have Julie Anderson.
Yes.
And Julie, you have indicated that you want to speak, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and this is regarding the well 4 fund, and the floor is yours.
Correct. I oppose the funding for well 4. The location of this well, as well as our health and safety concerns, need to be addressed before the funding is approved. This funding should not be prioritized for 2026 when well 1 is fully functional and there is no justification for a new well. A new city complex is irrelevant. The cost of this project, which is in the millions, impacts every Monona taxpayer, but the city does not feel like it needs to inform their community and continues to move forward with their plans under the radar. there has never been a public forum to discuss this project. There would be tons of people here tonight and we have a good showing, but how would they know? I am sure that feedback will come once they review their costly water bill, see the destruction of Waterman Park, and their ever-increasing tax bill. I find it very disturbing that a project can go through the Monona system without public notice or input, with the taxpayer footing the bill. This is unconscionable, and this is not how government should work.
Next is we have Thomas.
I didn't really plan to speak, but I will say that I had written
Okay.
a check that I would.
All right.
I will second everything that Julie said, and I will also point out that there is a letter from an attorney firm on record that goes into some detail on questioning the legality of even developing that park for anything other than a park. And everything else that Julie said is I think spot on. No forward notice to the public about the proposed expenditures. I think that's just unconscionable.
If you speak, can you please state your address? I do need that for the record.
5517 Pheasant Hill Road.
Yeah, I got that. And I'll try to read it if you have that here. If I can't read it, okay. So, next is Kim wanted to register. Now I'm reading ahead, sorry. Against well number 4, and that's 4602 Waterman. Next I have Sandy Humber and registered to speak,
Yes.
610 Cushing's.
Can I sit at the front so I'm not talking to the back
Yeah.
of people?
Go ahead.
Are you at the podium? If you wanna go to the podium?
Oh, I don't care about the podium.
But there's fine.
But I want to speak a little bit to what Julie said and that, and also we, I read the letter from the lawyer, which is really incredible. But the process that was done, I want to tell you what I've been through. Just this recent request for open records from the city took 8 weeks. That's with me calling so that they didn't forget about me. I didn't start calling right away, right? I let it have some time, but then I started calling twice a week just for an update. I wasn't rude, I wasn't anything like that. I was just calling for an update. And then eventually they just they'd throw me to voicemail and never call me back. And I'd say, I'm just calling for an update. If you could let me know. Nothing. So finally, the next time I called, and this is twice a week, this is going on for 8 weeks. And of course, you know that a request for open records is supposed to be within a reasonable amount of time. And if I look it up on the Wisconsin laws, it says that's about 10 days. So when I did finally call and they were going to put me to voicemail again, I asked them not to and said, I've been placed on voicemail. Can you just run and ask them? Because they all say, she's running right into a meeting, or, that was usually the excuse. And then that person came back to me and said that it is now passed on to Neil. So I called Neil, and Neil said he didn't have it and that he would get to the bottom of it. He did call me back on a Monday and said I'd have it by the end of the week. Well, and he would call to make sure I got it. Nothing happened, right? He never called. I waited the following week until, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week. And then he said he passed it on to Bill Cole. And then I contacted Bill Cole to see if he had it. And Bill said he received it in and this is, his words were just a big dump of information, like 1,000 pieces of dump of information. He couldn't read it. He was sending it back to the city again to try and put that into PDFs and things. So when I finally got it, it was on a flash drive, and I looked at it. It was incomplete. So, and I know this because I had open records from the DNR that included some information that obviously was not the information I was getting from the city too. So now I'm going to have to re-request the same open records, which I think is, it really, you start thinking, okay, is the staff just not trained well? Or is this an intentional stall as things kept progressing? So as we start.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be loud. I meant to be silent. Truly,
Okay. But
That's
you
my
can
wake
see
up alarm.
how we're feeling when we're not getting any information at all. We're asking questions, no one will talk to us. Open records, can't get them for 8 weeks. Well, things keep progressing, and this project for well number 4 is scheduled for construction starting March 1st. So we have no chance to really work on it, and there's been no open forum. This whole process that the city has done over this project has been a mess to begin with. And I'm asking that you do not pass this on for funding to the council, because we need time to really take a look at it. And actually, I don't think it should at all ever, but something needs to change. This process needs to change.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yeah.
Next is Andrew Humber at 610 Clear Street. Sure.
Okay, well, we'll follow that.
Hey, I sorted them in order.
Thank you for listening to us this evening. This has been a long, difficult process. Our summer and our spring have been wasted and obliterated by this, and frustration doesn't come anywhere close to defining what we've been through. I'm going to start with one simple point. There's no need to fund well number 4 in Waterman Way Park. There's no need to construct well number 4 in Waterman Way Park. And I'm going to say Waterman Way Park because throughout this process, the city has not done that. It's been right under the radar, it's been hidden. And that's part of our frustration. That's why there's a growing amount of frustration by the people in this community. There's no reason to fund well number 4 because there's nothing wrong with well number 1. Admitted by our own staff, our own consultants, and the DNR. Everybody is in agreement. There's nothing wrong with well number 1. There was some maintenance work that was supposed to be done last year. Instead of putting that into 1, you diverted 25K and sent it to well number 3 instead. It feels almost like trying to make it go back. But that well has plenty of life in it. It's producing clean, safe water. It's producing the quantity of water we need. We don't need well number 4 in Waterman Park if well number 1 functions perfectly well. It was stated that it needed to be moved to make way for the Civic Campus. Well, the Civic Campus is a long ways in the future, if ever. There was an option that showed the well staying exactly where it was, that was selected as the preferred option. Somewhere along the lines, an individual decided to change that. I don't think it's creating any problems where it sits, but forcing number 4 down into this neighborhood is creating a lot of problems. Not the least of which is that you're moving it 3,200 feet, 0.6 of a mile northeasterly, straight into the oncoming path of the PCE contamination plume that is migrating off of the Clunky Cleaners site next to the high school. We're taking safe water and replacing it with risk. You're moving it directly into the path of the oncoming PCEs and PFAS without valid data. There's been no hydrogeological study done. There's been no new monitoring wells installed at depth, so we know what's really happening because PCEs go down and then migrate. What I do know is the nuanced differential between 1,200 feet and 1,600 feet. DNR and Veerbecker are saying, oh, it's 1,600 feet, it's beyond 1,200, so it's safe. 3,200 feet we gave away by moving this. It's a bad decision. There's no need to fund this. There's no need to put your foot on the throttle. At the time when we were told by the mayor that this was on pause, our staff was working on planning for the construction of it in 2026. It came through open records. It took us a long time to get it, but it's like, oh, look at that, June 5th, while it's supposedly on pause, they're still plotting to build this thing. That feels like a violation of trust. Fiscally, it's an enormous risk. If this becomes contaminated, and I understand the rationale for wanting the triangulation on wells. I understand that completely. But having a northern well point does not supersede safety or cost or financial risk or health risk. And if we have to strip the PC, it's amazing
We had a salesman hand us a brochure at the beginning of the meeting because he wants to sell you guys equipment when this thing becomes a contaminated well. Think about that. That makes no sense. I'd like to say just briefly, if I could, in our path of research, we discovered in 1938 that Justin Waterman was one of the handful of people that met at Monona Motors and founded this city. They founded it because they felt unrepresented by the people of the township of Blooming Grove that were the elected officials. The Gold Coasters, as they called them, felt unrepresented. This is what's happening today. He's rolling in his grave. Waterman Way, which is a 60-foot right of way, and the record will prove it, and Waterman Park are named for someone that gave us this community. We'd be Madison or Blooming Grove or something else, but we're here today because they felt they needed better representation. We're begging you for better representation. Thank you.
Next is. There you go. Thank you. And Public Works process and testing.
Yes, I'm not gonna reiterate all the points that were made on process, but I will add a couple things to that. Because it's actually evidence. I mean, your own capital improvements request form doesn't say Waterman Park. This echoes the mayor's letter when we received our tax assessment that stated nothing about Waterman Park. Or the referendum that stated nothing about Waterman Park. Or the surveyors that came on people's property without notice about Waterman Park. Process is important, and trust is a valuable item. Good governance requires trust from its constituents to its representatives. There's no malice here. There's no ill will, I know that. But organizations have drift. The process prevents drift. It prevents gaps in communication. It prevents alienation. It prevents the feeling, like I had, of being unimportant. That's not a good feeling to have in your citizenry. And I might add about the well itself and the process of doing a well. And this echoes Andrew's comments. Water is the most basic human need. And the testing for it that would involve generations, our kids, their kids thereafter, for a 75-year to 100-year fixed point of water supply should be as stringent as possible. No exceptions. Find out exactly what it is, no matter where you put it. That's process. Thank you.
Next, I have Carrie Bradley at 611 Clear Springs Court.
Wow.
And, okay, you were to speak.
I am to speak, but I'm gonna be brief and nowhere near as having an intense as what I'm experiencing.
No worries.
Because I have tried to
Takes
take
out the-
emotion out of this because I have so much. So I went down the process path and watched a lot of council meetings, looked at capital budgets and tried to get an understanding of how the process works. We were told it was put on pause, and what I can figure out, it's not on pause anymore, and it gets kicked in as part of this capital project building process. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the funding piece is really what gets us going. So I went and I looked, I've been looking at your finances, but I don't want to talk about that because it will take too long. And I don't know enough. I don't come from a city, I come from a public school funding, not a city funding. But I believe in process and I used to build budgets. So I really like the capital improvement request form. And that's probably exactly what I would have asked a principal to do. But I would have required that principal to have a justification on this form. The form talks about proceeding with, and we're talking about $2.6 million last year, $2.9 million this year. And there's no justification included in the request. It just says, staff is requesting funding to proceed with the construction. So I guess either you can direct me to where I'm gonna find the justification. I've looked at many meetings and I'm not seeing anything that documented that would be a justification. And I'm seeing it missed from 2 years of these forms from your process. Because this is a great process, but it's missing. So much lighter, not as heavy as everybody else's emotion, but you can still hear the emotion in my voice. So thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Next is Ralph Bradley at 611 Clear Springs, and you could both speak and register.
Yeah, well, but yeah.
All right.
I'm against and I'm speaking against.
I'm like, you can do either, that's fine.
Yeah, very consistent.
And I apologize, it's gonna make noise, I don't know how to stop it from making noise, I have it on mute, but,
Okay,
so, it's gonna make noise.
I will try not to take the 3
All right.
minutes. Okay, I'm gonna repeat much of what Andrew was talking about as well. But essentially, we do not believe that well number 4 or any replacement for well number 1 is necessary at this point. And that the decision to decommission well number 1 is a choice by the Monona municipal government, not a necessity. There is no data to show that well number 1 is failing. The entire notion that well number 1 is failing seems to be in reference to generic metrics that older wells eventually will fail. I took on a survey of 30 municipal wells across Dane County. 10 of them are older than well number 1. Several of them were built in the 1930s. The oldest one was built in 1912 and is still functioning in the city of Belleville. Also, if age is the metric by which we are determining well number 1 must be replaced, why is well number 1 being selected for decommissioning over well number 2, which is only 2 years younger, and in the number of years that we're talking about, that's the same age. So I don't know that we can point to well number 1 failing as being a reason for proceeding with well number 4. The choice to decommission well number 1 seems more likely to have been to make way for the civic campus. But why then was an additional choice made to move forward with the civic campus design without well number 1? There were perfectly viable options for a new civic campus that preserved well number 1, and in 2022, that option was determined to be less expensive than removing well number 1, even without considering building of a new well and decommissioning of well number 1. After a thorough review of available data, recorded public meetings, meeting minutes, we can only come to the conclusion that replacing well number 1 with a well number 4 in Waterman Park is a chosen preference of Monona's government without a compelling reason. This choice will put Monona's safe drinking water at risk, destroy valuable parkland and green space, and add $3.5 million in debt to Monona water bills. Safe Water Monona asks that you reconsider your choice and continue to look for better options. Now, that's what I have to say about the well. I would like to speak now on a little bit more of a personal note. In the minutes of the June 3rd meeting between the Public Works Department and Bierbecker. One of the points from the minutes of that meeting, and I'm just going to read this right off the minutes. The Waterman Way right-of-way change at Clear Spring Court should be revised in a way to limit the feel that the right-of-way is private property for the newly constructed home. So just to clarify, that's talking about my house, okay? Anyway, this meeting, June 3rd, was the day after I spoke at a city council meeting in opposition to the well. And then as part of the well design discussion, it was pointed out that you needed to delineate the property lines. I know where the property line is. There's actually a tree line there already. So I'm not sure what the plans are, but I don't know what this has to do with well number 4 or the design of well number 4. I would want to know why the city of Monona feels that they need to limit the feel that the right-of-way is not private property. And I would like a little bit more details on what this is meant to mean. And essentially, what exactly does the city of Monona plan to do to us next?
Regarding that question, I think we can follow up with you, Joy. I mean, with that item.
Yeah.
This would be our reminder.
Okay,
But
thank
not
you.
often.
I have other copies.
All right, okay. I'm not taking your only one. Thanks. All right, next, I actually have a letter that I'll read them because they couldn't make it to the meeting tonight. And this is from Taya. Taya, I got it right, good deal. She writes, "Dear Public Works Committee, I cannot make the August 6th meeting, but I wanted to register my concern in opposition to well number 4, Marvin Way Park. My name is Taya Bach Stryfer, and I reside at 614 Clear Springs Court, Monona, and I'll allow Sandy Humbert to relay this letter message for me." Next, I have Nicholas Laniello, and he would like to register to speak in favor in that 4523 Winifred Road.
In favor.
No, I'm sorry. That's the first word out.
My name again is Nick Laniello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I live at 4523 Winnicott Road. I've lived there for 51 years. And yes, I'm old enough to be in a museum. The natives are restless, very restless, so restless I would characterize them as rebellious. Usually I don't get involved at all in Monona's politics. But my neighbors approached me with this story about how far Monona has gone towards the construction of well number 4 in Waterman Park without any meaningful public involvement. It used to be my preference not to be involved in municipal politics because I trusted my neighbors and I trusted the city of Monona. Their reputation for good government has always impressed me until recently. That's why the natives are more than upset. I characterize them as rebellious. I'm a lawyer, I'm a real estate lawyer. And when I opened the file in my office to help my neighbors, I had to pick a name for the file. And I called it the Water Well Rebellion. And that's what's going on. Setting aside the important process arguments that you've heard by others today, I'm a lawyer and I undertook an investigation in some matters, and I emailed a 2.5-page memo to you today, along with some supporting exhibits. I'm going to highlight some of that, and I will tell you it's extremely difficult for a lawyer to speak for less than 3 minutes.
Now you're down to 1.
But I shall try. You have an ordinance, a zoning ordinance, that regulates the design district called, or the zoning district called public facilities. The lot upon which the proposed well is located is zoned public facilities. And your zoning ordinance says, to the extent feasible, a substantial portion of the property shall be maintained as landscaped open space. You're taking away a lot of open space. Now, one could argue that that ordinance can't mean that you can never build on a piece of municipal owned property if you really needed it. And you heard comments tonight that clearly show that there's nothing extraordinary about this location for the purposes of a location of a water well. It is feasible that you put this water well at some other place, assuming it was needed. The real corker in the ordinance is a separate provision that says, quote, "The proposed use shall protect and enhance the character of the surrounding neighborhood." Doesn't say should, it says shall. And the operative verbs are protect and enhance the character of the surrounding neighborhood. I've lived there for more than 50 years. Waterman Way Park is the defining characteristic of our neighborhood. That's why all these neighbors are here. I could go on for 10 minutes telling you how wonderful it is to live across that beautiful expanse of open space. And the joy I have just watching and listening to the delightful human activity that I see every day, every season going on in that park. And if you build this water well in this park, it will destroy the character of that neighborhood feature. Pardon me? Okay. In my memo, I pointed out that the right of way is shown on your, the site plan is completely bogus. The land is platted between the that's called the existing right of way on Vera Baker's map and the road, the Waterman Way street is public park. It's platted as public park. I gave you copies of the plats. There's 2 plats that designate that area as park. It is not road right of way. The lot 12 upon which this water well would be constructed was gifted to the city of Monona. Wasn't bought, it was gifted by a lady who was spouse of the former treasurer of the then village of Monona. We spoke, Andrew will tell you, Andrew has interviewed a relative of Ms. Ovida Olson, who donated the property. And we will be able to have live testimony that the intention of the donor was to create a public park. And this lot 12 has always been inventoried on all your comprehensive plans as a public park.
We have to wrap it up.
Okay.
The letter that you provided was shared with the community members and it's being looked at. Thank you. At Amy Dixon at 4533.
Can somebody donate more time tonight? We did before. I mean, I see it in the Madison. all
It's
the time.
usually not well done in the sense of this letter has been provided to this group a couple hours ago. This group hasn't even had time to review that letter. I didn't receive it till I got off work as I was on my way here.
Right, but he could help explain a little bit more.
I'm moving on to Amy Dixon right now. Amy Dixon at 4533 Winnebago Road and wants to register against the funding for well number 4.
I just concur with what the other folks here have said tonight, and as a over 30-year resident of Monona and in the same house, you know, the park is fabulous space. We'll never get it back, and I think it would be a real tragedy to build what is proposed in the park.
Next, I have Brenda Simmons at 4600 Waterman Way and wants to register against. Change your mind. Next, no, meaning change your mind to speak. Greg Simmons at 4600 Waterman Way, would like to speak against. Yes.
It's pronounced Simonis.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Close enough. My wife and I, Brenda, we live at 4600 Waterman Way, right across the street from the park. We've been there almost 25 years now. I mean, it's the main reason why we moved into that area. I think that the biggest thing that I wanted to speak on, because a number of people have hit on a lot of other topics, is we've heard, my wife specifically, heard from the mayor, the comment was, we're listening to the experts, not expert, experts. I beg you to listen to not just your experts, but the other experts that have been speaking here. Everything from, we've got DNR representation, we've got a lawyer representation, we've got engineers, we've got process people, we've got financial people. I think there's a lot of other experts here that have brought additional information to the table. And my thought is that if you took each of those pieces siloed, I think some of this stuff could be missed or not understood. We could put it collectively together. I think that's the piece that I'm seeing that really needs to be rethought of. Stop this process. It's almost not no well number 4. It's like, why not keep well number 1? Dan Stefani, I've heard through sources, had said that, hey, our usage is down. The volume usage is down. That was stated. So where's the need to put a new well in, going bigger, going deeper, and moving off of the site? So I think it's a piece to listen to your own people, but also the other experts that brought additional information to the table. The DNR was one, they had commented why, they had asked, why are you building a new well? And it's a valid question. They didn't get a response. It's not required a response, but they even questioned it with the information that was submitted in the application. Why are you building it? There's a reason why they asked that. Otherwise, they'd have been like, oh yeah, we get this. But they didn't. They questioned it. They also recommended testing. Not required. They can't require it based on circumstances, is my understanding. But they recommended it. So they recommended it. And then the decision is to go against that recommendation because it's not required. That doesn't sit really well with me, pun intended. So those are my, and my last piece is from a maintenance perspective. Public Works, it's hard to keep up with the stuff they have now. I get this. I understand that. We're gonna build a new well and give them more things to maintain. Where's that money coming from? How are they gonna handle that? So those are my pieces. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tom Evans at 4602 Waterman Way.
Yeah, it's just registering.
Just registered again.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And then I have Lauren Humber.
Yeah.
Hi, Lauren. And you're registered just registered. Do you want to speak though?
I might actually, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
Okay, lovely.
203 West Dean.
Yes, so my name's Lauren Homberg. I live at 203 West Dean. And this is the first home I've ever owned. The reason I changed my mind as to just registering against and now speaking is because I don't think that there's any other representation of millennial or young homeowners speaking up. And I grew up here in Monona. I went to Monona Grove, as did both of my parents. And you know, we came through a really difficult time when I was going through college. We went through this great recession, and as I came out of college, jobs were really hard to find, and all of us millennials are struggling to buy a home. And I finally found a home that I could buy in Monona. And I know this is a little off topic, but one of the reasons I could afford to live in my home was that I was gonna Airbnb it part of the time and live with my parents. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you want young homeowners. And just as I was about to buy my home, that all changed. And so I was forced to figure out a new way to make more income. I'm a self-employed musician. So I teach lessons and I perform. And as I've talked to all of my other musician friends that teach lessons, they're like, how many students do you have? Oh, I have 32 students. I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna burn out. I'm like, but that's what I need to afford my home. And now that all of this has come to light between the Airbnb thing and now this well issue, I'm feeling like you've approved all of this stuff without ever asking us for permission. And I bought this home without support from my government. And I have no voice from my government. And I really feel overlooked as a young homeowner that can barely afford my home. And you're making all these financial decisions without me. And that's, you know, I don't have surveys or documentation or anything like that, but I hope that my voice as a young homeowner reaches you. Thank you.
Adam Alberts.
Yep, over here.
Adam? Yeah, 701 West Dean.
Yeah, I didn't register to speak.
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I actually would like to. Okay. Just a quick 60 seconds. There's been a lot of great things pointed out today, but I just, since you said you haven't had time to read Mr. Boniello's report, I really strongly urge you to read that. There was a lot of work that went into that, a lot of research. And also, some of the other people that spoke and that I've done a lot of legwork to put a lot of these arguments together. It seems like the people in the neighborhood are doing a lot more work to justify reasons not to go forward with this project, and we've seen zero justification for why it should go forward. So I just really want you to notice that and look into some of this stuff. There's a website with a lot of great information as well. And if you haven't seen that, we should really get you a link to that as well. There's resources and some documents to support a lot of the things that we're talking about. And I really think you should look into this, take it very seriously. Thank you.
Is Mike Fritz.
There you go.
There you go. 45, 37. I was listening to speak.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'm late in the game and learning about this well project for Waterman Park and quite disturbed by the fact that it took just a few days ago for me to learn about it when it's across the street. And I think the comments from Penny and Sandy and Andrew and Nick are very, very persuasive. And I think that they really call for this project to be tabled and to be reassessed and discussed in an open forum. And I think there's many points that question the rationale for this, and the arguments are persuasive. And it seems to me really a no-brainer for this committee to table this expenditure and have it reassessed, brought up in a public forum, and discussed. And that's what my.
Next, I have Mark.
Kippers.
All right, thank you. All right, at 615 Clear Springs Court, and you are registered to speak.
So good to be with you all. Thank you for the work you do. I know it's probably tireless and difficult to hear some of the feedback. I'm just going to briefly share a little bit of kind of my story and my family story of coming to Monona. I would say I'm an aspirational millennial. It means I wish I was younger. So, but that resonates with me. Can I be a millennial? But I've been in Monona with my family for the last 2.5 years. And for many years, for about 6 years, we lived downtown in the Isthmus, and we're seeking a family home. And we were surveying all of the surrounding areas, wanting to stay close to Madison, wanting to find a place where we wouldn't have to fully sacrifice our lifestyle. And we fell in love with Monona, but we couldn't get in. It's hard to find a home in Monona. It's hard to find a home that's affordable. We kept at it. We eventually got and bought a home in September of 22. We paid beyond anything I ever anticipated I would have paid for a home. Fully uncomfortable with what I paid, we committed. Since that time, every year, my assessed home value goes way up. Every time my utilities go up. Every day at work, I'm asked to figure out how we only spend on what's essential. And so I find myself living through this experience with well number 4, trying to understand from the city's perspective what's essential in this environment. I watched the referendum unfold last year and I voted for it. I think it makes sense. And at some point, there's a limit for all of us about how we can support more spending in our communities. And so I don't even really, I registered against well number 4, but I'm registered against well number 4 because no one's made a case to me for well number 4. I'm out here say well number 1, I don't even know what that means. But it's because no one has helped me understand what the purpose is for this transition. And so there's lots, anytime you open the news, there's lots of examples of poor governance. And it's hard, people are pitched against each other all over the place. I'm not interested in being pitched against anybody. I seek to understand. And the only way I can do that is with dialogue. And this isn't that forum tonight, obviously. I also don't know what that forum is. No one's clarified what that forum is. We keep seeking it and it doesn't exist. So go ahead, you probably have the right to do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be able to afford to live here in the way I want to live here. And me and my family would have to make hard choices. And other families are going to have to make hard choices. We're privileged, we're lucky. Me and my wife have good jobs. We'll figure it out. It may not be in Monona, but we'll figure it out. Other folks won't be as fortunate. We don't need our utility bills to go up for an unnecessary well. And if it's necessary, I look forward to you all making it.
Kevin? How you say his last? Litwicky? All right. 4510, or no way.
I just wanted to express my opposition to well number 4.
All right, thank you. And then I have Kaylin Fontaine.
Yep. Just registered against.
Registering against, and yeah, 5610 Winifred Rail.
Yes.
And then Nicole,
Jane Metcalf.
yes, at 905 Progressive Lane, and speaking against well 4.
Yeah, so I have
And a few things.
a few just budget and safety concerns within the well, which a lot of those have been touched on already, so I don't have to go into tons of detail, but at the last meeting, there was a 20% increase in the sewage rates. So there's already gonna be that. Last year, we had a referendum. I know that's completely separate, that's operating versus capital. But again, the same points that have been made, there's pitches happening, and this is gonna be additional costs, again, without the justification. And then there's further safety concerns that I don't think have been fully flushed out, because well one is operational and it's clean and it's safe. And my big concern is shutting down something that works with something that is at least risky or uncertain. And that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that didn't fill out a piece of paper that wants to either register or speak? Look at the youngest person in the room. No pressure, no pressure. All right, and we have a number of people that are on Zoom. If anybody is on Zoom that wants to either register or to speak, if you can virtually raise your hand or just unmute yourself, and I'll try to figure out who's who. All right, I'll give it one more option. Is there anybody on Zoom that wants to appear or register during the public open session portion? If so, raise your virtual hand or just unmute yourself and speak, and we'll go from there. All right. Seeing none, we'll close the appearance section and we can move on to what is now, we moved item 6D to become 6A. So we can go to the discussion and consideration, I'm sorry, or say there is no unfinished business, open and closed for item 5. Item 6D, which is now 6A, discussion and consideration of the 2026 Public Works Capital Budget Request. Now, Dan. All right.
You want to jump right to the water utility?
Yes, I was
portion of the
hoping that
capital
we would
budget?
be able to take the water portion at the front end of the capital budget and have that item considered separately than the rest of the capital budget.
And we can do that. There's nothing that says we have to approve our capital budget all in one. So if you want to do water utility first, the committee make a motion, then we can do the rest of the capital budget.
Does that make sense to committee members?
I'd move to consider the water first capital.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
All right. So
Who was it? Who second?
all those in favor of that switch to move the water portion to the front of the capital, consider it second, or consider it first. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So Dan, we're doing the water portion, capital standalone.
And that is page 47 of our packet.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So in the water utility, first off, we have the painting of the large water tower for next year. The inspection report was completed in 2023, we did the power washing recommendation from the report that we need to do some painting of the inside and outside. We have some exposed areas. The goal is to cover those exposed areas as soon as possible. The last time the 400,000 gallon water tank was painted was 2006. And we've completed the power wash just a few years ago. So this request for 2026 color painting budget expense for the request is $480,000.
All right, any questions? How do you paint the inside? Do you empty it and just use the small water tower?
We use the small water tower from April through November to basically it's a shock absorber. It assists with water hammer in the system. But also when we do need to do work on the large water tower, in this case, it will be drained, cleaned, and then they will paint the inside and then they will paint the outside.
So the small is enough during that time of the year to supply the city?
No, the small is 100,000 gallons. We go through about 630,000 a day. So we turn over our system about 1.5, depending on the need. So, but while the big tower is offline, we'll have the small tower on, and we have our booster stations to help keep pressure.
So back to process, I thought we might have moved right to well 4 construction, but you're starting with.
Because these are both the water items.
They're water items, okay.
Water utility.
Okay. Are we gonna approve them one at a time?
Those two together, well, a consideration of those two together or a recommendation.
You can make it in the motion. We're gonna, from what I understand, entertain the water utility capital budget.
I see.
As
And then
one item.
within that,
Okay.
you can make your motion on what you want.
Yeah.
So if there's no more questions on the painting, I can move on to
Perfect. Okay.
the funding request for the construction of well 4. As you all know, you all read it, the information is straightforward there. Straight up ask for construction. The cost that the estimate that we received from Becker and the cost put in the capital request is $2.886 million. That is for the drilling of the well, the production well, testing the production well, as well as construction of the pumps.
Dan, in your note, would you repeat, you wrote a note to the committee saying what typically is the committee's responsibility in considering these things. Would you repeat for the committee roughly what you wrote about what typically we're considering about a capital budget item?
We are an advisory committee, so whatever recommendation comes out of the committee goes to city council. So whatever is decided here is only an advisory recommendation to city council.
I get that, but you also wrote that the committee is really considering, is this a valid proposal and what's the impact on the finances?
Right.
That was in your note, right? That's the history of the committee's role.
Well, when it comes to the capital budget, yes, you're considering the project requested and advancing the funding request to city council.
Okay. And the reason I asked to have this as a separate standalone, there are times that we do the whole capital budget, all of the projects together.
Yeah.
Right, given the wonderful turnout, I hope you guys show up for other stuff regarding finances in the city. That this group might want to consider a smaller little chunk first before we talk about the other projects.
Yeah, reason being is so everybody, who, if they're just here for this discussion point, so we can entertain this, and then if they want to move on, they can move on, because we have a lot to talk about with other projects in the capital budget anyway.
Well, it seems to me that some of the things that are brought up tonight that were in the notes we received and so forth is there is some question about the city's ability legally to use that portion of land for this. So that it seemed to me that even if we approved it for other reasons, it would have to come with a proviso that it would have to be considered by the attorneys to be legal. So in other words, and so one option is to approve it, but with the proviso that the attorney would have to weigh in that it's legal. And another is to not approve it because there are so many questions around the city's ability to do this. Are those like the two options?
Those are kind of the two I'm.
Yeah.
I would like to add to that, not only the legal aspect, but when we talk about that there's potential that may be a bad site for contamination. I'm not a believer of that yet. Nobody has shown me data to make me feel that way. The plume is like 700 feet above the well, the well depth, the proposed well depth. I would like to see more on that.
I tend to agree with Leslie. I did some speakers, but on the DNR site that reported some concerning statistics for me, and so that just raised a lot of concerns. Just that the proper testing needs to be done in front of the public. I think there's been enough concerns raised about process that also raises the hairs on the back of my neck. And so I don't feel comfortable moving forward and supporting the allocation of these funds in that respect.
Can we go back just a little bit, because we decided to look at the painting of the water tower and this issue at the same time. And so that means if we vote, we're accepting them both.
No,
Or
no,
you can
there could be a
divide them.
motion
It could be a
that
motion
could
to
accept one,
Right.
both,
Okay. Just want to
neither.
look in that process,
Yeah,
in that process.
you can make a motion that means anything,
Gotcha.
or anyway.
Just a quick question on well number one. Is it just the location and the age of it that are concerned, or wasn't there also something about the depth of it, Dan, being too shallow or the shallowest of wells? So there are two ways to look at well one. In my role as Director of Public Works and Utilities, I'm looking at it from a water quality standpoint and a water capacity standpoint. The well meets water quality standards of the EPA and DNR. We do have PFAS located at well one in the aquifer, but it's not at an action level that it needs to be addressed through filtration or whatnot. We still meet EPA requirements. Maintenance is required about every 10 to 12 years of the aquifer pump. Well one is due for aquifer pump maintenance. We did complete wells 2 and 3 last year and this year. So as long as you keep up on the required aquifer pump maintenance, inspecting the aquifer, as of right now, our pump house and well meets the requirements of the DNR. They have recommendations for upgrading the pump house regarding chemical room, but we are not required to make those changes because they're grandfathered with the state statutes. Meaning that in new pump house requirements, the chemical rooms are supposed to be separate from the aquifer pump and the booster pumps, things like that. So in the regards of a fully functional well one is meeting standards. Okay, so.
Any other questions or a motion?
I just have one more question. The location, the proposed location, that would require approval from DNR, would it not?
Well 4 received DNR siting location approval.
No, a
And
number
was
of
that
years ago.
lots of years
No,
ago?
it's new.
Oh, okay.
It was received in 2024 and reapplied based on the new location that the mayor changed the location to. That has been submitted and approved by the DNR.
Okay. Tim, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I realized that I missed a couple of meetings last year. But back in March, we did approve $114,000 for the report that was put together by Dear Becker. That was done on June 6th of 2024. Yes. And, but I don't remember receiving a copy of that report or seeing a copy of the report. Did anybody else get a copy of that report?
I don't recall.
So
I don't
has it
know.
been released to us at all?
It's public record. It's available.
Well, I guess I've learned more from these people about this project than certainly from the city and certainly from, and I did receive a copy of the 377 pages. But I was expecting with a meeting like this that we would get a PDF of that. So we're not even receiving the information, is what I'm saying.
I think we did a long time.
Yes.
We must have, yeah, not 2 years ago, a long time ago.
Well,
I'm
it was
thinking,
finished
Yeah, there have been
June
different,
6th of
different
2024.
renditions of
But-
those reports.
but it's been on our radar.
This committee
Long time.
last year at this time entertained capital budget funding requests to complete design. So this committee has been well aware
Oh, that's right.
of well for as far as the citing reapproval request for the DNR. That amendment came through this committee.
I remember that.
The capital funding request came through this committee. The update was provided, made available. Again, we talked about it when the design contract came through this committee. So I take
we were
offense to
never-
what you're saying, that you are not in the loop or made aware. Those documents are publicly available. I've made updates in my reports from there. If there's questions, I have never hit anything.
No,
So
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that, has anybody else on the committee been seeing the report?
We saw the financial end of things. I don't recall, I don't remember seeing the actual report, but we might have gotten it, and it was something that the people, I don't know.
Well, we all got a copy of the mayor's letter in which she outlined 14, 16 times this has come before the city council and before this committee.
Right.
Yeah, and that's true. It's been, that was an answer to the question that we heard today about whether it was underground or not. It really wasn't underground, and her letter outlined that. On the other hand, there are some, to me, there's a fair amount of new information here in terms of the city's ability to use that land, and that comment here about justification for 4 and shutting down 1. And so you have any, I was about to make a motion, but do you want to weigh in here before a motion?
I would love to,
Yeah.
but why don't you finish up?
No, I'm done.
Dan, could you just lay out the 2 paths in front of us, and if tonight is a yes vote, then what are the next 2-3 steps? If it's a no vote, then what are the next, like, what would either direction look like?
Either direction, it basically goes to the mayor and city council. So if this committee makes a recommendation to not fund well for construction next year, that still goes to the mayor and city council for consideration. If this committee approves the capital budget request with funding for 2026 construction, that also goes to the mayor and city council for consideration. So even though if this committee votes to not recommend funding for any project or piece of equipment, that information is still passed on to the mayor for her review. And then the committee of the whole discussion at city council. So the capital budget request, not only for this committee and this department, but citywide, becomes final once city council votes on the 2026 capital budget. So what comes out of here is just a recommendation for the mayor and city council. Usually, what comes out of this committee is honored at council. So,
That's why I would take away the word just as an advisory. It's an advisory, but it's a strong advisory of looking at this group as the group that really has kind of dug into things, hopefully discussed things at a level that we might not necessarily do at a council level for all items. Some items we dig into greatly and others we don't.
One other thing, if we say that we'd like to table this and we have more research done or whatever, if we make that recommendation, does that affect anything else with the proposed building plans? Because we have not been part of that. That's a whole different group. My husband was on that committee, so I know a little about it, but it doesn't really impact that because that's
right. And to my knowledge, that has not proceeded either.
Nope.
It's in a holding pattern.
It's in a holding pattern. And I think if this committee chooses to either push funding off to 2027 or take it out altogether and entertain it again this time next year, I don't think that impacts any decisions of the ad hoc committee or council when it comes to city hall.
Or any permitting, right, because DNR was just renewed essentially.
Yeah,
for a standard year.
I'm not sure how, in the past, this site renewal was good for 2 years. I don't know how long this renewal is good for. But that said, if you do not approve funding, I don't believe that impacts the timeline of anything related to City Hall, because next year at this time, we'll be back and there's still no plan for City Hall. So.
Your question was, we made it sound as though it's binary, we either approve or disapprove, but isn't there a third in that we ask for this to be deferred, this particular item, until some of the questions that have been brought up have been addressed either by the city council or by staff? Is that a third option?
Well, actually, what's on the agenda is recommendation for approval of budget. Right. So if you're wanting questions asked, I think what you're suggesting is removal from the approval or the recommendation from this group. The side story is there's more work to do.
Yes, yeah.
But I think removing it from the capital budget for funding request. And then once city council makes a decision on what to do with City Hall, that might be then the appropriate time to consider it once again. I can't speak for city council, but it makes sense to wait for a decision on that end.
If this group doesn't put it in the budget to move forward, the mayor could put it back in.
Right.
And Alder could put it back in.
Right.
So stay tuned if that's.
Right, if the mayor advances the mayor's budget to city council minus funding for this, I believe two alders can make a motion for an amendment to the request and add it back in. So there's a bunch of steps yet that have to happen with this capital budget process.
Regarding our two water projects, is there a possible motion?
I make a motion, at least for consideration by the group, that we approve the water tower maintenance of the two and that we not approve this one moving forward. Our recommendation is more work needs to be done, whether that's the city hall or whether that's answering some of the questions at this point. So second.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes. So for that further discussion that you spoke about, for that to happen, someone brought up what I've been saying myself. What is the forum for open dialogue? It's not a public meeting like this, right?
Well, this request, I think that would be separate. So this request is approval or non-approval of the budget.
I get that.
Right.
Secondary, this group could make a recommendation to the mayor and the city administrator on something.
Mhm.
That
So
is
if they
not,
would, if they wanted to have a meeting.
Yep.
That would be the way that could happen.
so I have a motion and a second for approval of painting of the water tower, but not including the funding for well number 4.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too detailed, but you know, I generally, my original logic for that is we don't even know if the city has the power to use the land. And there were several other things that were brought up. I don't know whether to list that in the motion or not, but they had to know some of the reasons why we would vote for this.
And all that's available
Right.
on our recording,
Okay.
and this is all on the city's media page.
Right.
So that information's out there.
Okay.
It's not.
Which is an invitation to your point for them to address this.
So motion by Mr. Boyer, second by Ms. Coor, motion to approve funding for the water tower painting, but not well tower funding for construction.
Beth, I see you're online. I forgot about you for a second, so I wanted to make sure you didn't have any questions before we entertain a vote. We can't hear you though, I'm sorry.
Her microphone.
She has nothing to say, I think is what that meant. All right, so all those in favor of the motion on the floor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion is carried. Those of you that want to leave, you won't offend any of us if you give up and leave. You're welcome to stay and be entertained by lots of other discussions.
Thank you.
But don't stay in here and talk, please. Exit so we can please. We still have a meeting to go. Thank you to the committee.
Thank you. This is my
Committee members.
It's unusual.
Teresa, committee chair. I'm gonna have us entertain a recess for 5 minutes. Another room too. 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Because it's impossible.
How are you?
Item 6B, which is discussion, oh no, I'm sorry. We're still on 6A, yeah. Keep going with budget. You start us where you need us.
The approval tonight and then the discussion is gonna be about 2026, even though we saw other years.
So the directive is to complete a 5-year capital budget snapshot. The directive from the mayor, administrator, and finance director is they always want basically the committees to entertain just the 1 year, because that's what they're borrowing money for. And they want to know the impacts for the very next year. In this case, it's 2027, because sometimes there's design in 1 year and construction in another. So in essence, you're really looking at 2026 with the recommendation for approval. And that will lead to, once city council approves the budget in the second meeting in October, how to frame the budget or the bonding request for next year.
Okay, all right.
Did you want to start with general fund or go into the sanitary sewer and non-code utilities right away?
Why don't we go back up to the top to make like your packet as easy as possible.
Okay.
So we'll start back at general fund projects.
Okay.
The first one is 35, Lagoon to Nord Bridge.
Yep. Okay, so these are, we have them broken down by general fund, meaning general obligation notes, and water utility and sanitary sewer. The funding is different, and that's why the general fund or general obligation note projects are separated from utility. Utility is completed with revenue bonds. So that said, the first item is the Lagoon to Nord Bridge replacement. We have been, this has been under engineering design through MSA since 2023. The bridge has a, back in 23, it had a sufficiency rating of 37.8, which meant it's eligible for replacement funding. And it has an NBI rating of a 4 for the substructure. We do have 100% federal funding, so far still, to replace this bridge. It's capped at 1.127 million. 8% funding is federal funding covers design. That's capped at 107,328. We will have costs that are the city's costs as it relates to water main, design and construction, any real estate acquisition for temporary easement while we construct the bridge. So the request that you see here is to continue with the remaining design of those non-federally funded items and real estate acquisition. We're in the process of doing that now. That task carries into 2026, and the construction is set to occur in 2027. So we call it non-participating items, what we are on the hook for. Not part of this request this year, but in 2027 for construction, we have about a $750,000 obligation as it relates to water main relocation for the bridge construction. So this request is $25,000 to carry forward, carry on with our TLE and real estate acquisition, so we can reconstruct the bridge.
This is a good example of what you said earlier by if we leave this in the budget, and I assume we're not going to vote on every item, but if we leave this in the budget, we're implying that 2027 will have a $750,000 impact. So it's an implication.
Just a general question on that, is Lagoon to Nord the name of the lagoon?
Yep.
So, and then the other one is?
Lagoon du Sud.
What's that one?
Lagoon du Sud.
Yeah.
And then Sumac Lagoon.
All right. Don't ask me to repeat them.
Okay, if there's no questions, I'll move on to the next item.
Just a clarification to the ranks on these. The rank number 1 is not a numerical 1 to down. It is a level of importance from the city and from Public Works.
We were asked by the mayor to rank them based on our priority. The reason why I have 3 number 1s is because Lagoon du Nord is receiving grant funding.
Right.
So we want to keep that in queue. The local road reconstruction project, I also have that as a number 1 because that's been eliminated or removed from the budget 2 times now by the mayor. We have a ton of complaints from residents coming in about the pavement condition. I have that as a 1 because of, it's driven by water main breaks. We have a lot of water main breaks in that section of Maine. So it's driven by the water main breaks, it's driven by the condition of the pavement, and it's driven by the complaints that we are receiving. So that's why I have it as a 1. And Nichols Road, that's in here as well, because we have funding for that as well. So those 3 all receive a 1 that we need to keep as a high priority.
But yes, typically it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yes, yeah.
okay, all right.
He just has a lot of ones that,
Yeah.
they're 1 and 1.1 and 1.2.
So, the next one is the road reconstruction. I have the breakdown on the request sheet of the work intended. The estimate, is updated from MSA. And every year that we delay this, that price keeps going up because of inflation and the price of materials. And there's a new one out there that the engineers are seeing come in on some of the bids is, there's an increase in cost due to tariffs. So some of my requests, you might note that there's a tariff contingency, and this one is built into the estimate. So that's real. Our engineers are seeing that with the public bidding that they're holding for other communities that have bid projects, so the ask for that is 3.213 million. This is a big project. We have a lot of asphalt that's going to be removed. We have 2,800 feet of water main replacement and addition. 2,830 feet of new road bed. Sanitary sewer is planned to be lined, is not reflected in the cost below. That is going to be part of the sanitary sewer request.
Yeah, that's a
that I'm
different
getting
line.
to.
Yeah.
So this is a big one. So
It's been delayed 2 or 3 times.
Twice.
Twice, yeah.
These water mains are being replaced to PVC. as opposed to-
ductile iron,
Iron.
yep, ductile iron. I think 80% of our water main system is ductile iron. The goal is we're removing the cast iron, with the history of water main breaks. That's been the city's, process, before I arrived, from 2000 to 2010, they were heavy on road reconstruction, getting rid of cast iron main. We do have areas left out there, but we're knocking out the ones where we have a lot of main breaks first. But ductile iron is the most popular, in Wisconsin for water main. PVC, is a good one as well, but it's hard to locate. That's why the preference is ductile
Hard to locate.
iron. Bigger satellite locates,
Uh,
it's hard to,
sure,
especially if you have a water main break,
yeah,
you can't, it's really hard to find the main. You're supposed to install tracer wire,
Yeah.
but there are times the tracer wire gets broke or,
Right,
then you lose your connection, so.
So all the homes along here are gonna have connection to the valve that's in the yard or in the driveway, and that probably drives up the cost. I assume.
The water main replacement, on 20 Owath is a smaller section from Baskerville to Wild Haven. On Vogt, the water main's going to be replaced. They will get a new water service from the main to the curb stop.
Yeah, curb stop.
And then at the curb stop, we connect to the existing service line.
Right, okay.
and is there a cost to the homeowner?
No, not in general. There is a small section that does not have curb and gutter.
Oh, right,
Per the city's assessment policy.
Right.
Once the street, if the street has curb and gutter, they receive no assessments.
right,
If your street is being reconstructed, from no curb and gutter to curb and gutter, those folks will get an assessment.
Yeah.
So if this passes at city council in October, we will be coming back with, an assessment hearing for those properties. It needs to come through this committee and city council, so there's a lot more work to be done after October, if this passes.
so as an example of the curb and gutter assessment, I live on McKenna Road, the north end of McKenna, a few years ago got a lovely sidewalk on the west side of the street. And that street previously did not have curb and gutter. That was what residents were paying for. They weren't really paying for the sidewalk.
No.
But everyone said, we paid for this sidewalk, but technically it was the curb and gutter they were
They
paying
were
for.
only assessed, for the roadbed, the asphalt, and the curb and gutter, those are what's accessible.
Right,
In the city's assessment policy, sidewalks are 100% covered by the city. There's no assessment to the property
correct.
For the install.
for the install.
Well, what do you mean?
rehab of.
Oh, yeah, a repair,
100% city.
yeah. Yeah.
But the
We're
residents.
changing that.
The residents.
yeah,
the
I mean,
residents
it's
pay for
very-
it In their taxes.
Yes.
Well, the residents not have to
The
shovel
cost
though.
is shared across the entire city because sidewalks benefit everyone, so, yeah.
That's not good, too far. Sorry, I did that. All right, Nichols Road.
Brad is, he's been handling the Nichols Road project, so I will let Brad do the summary update for this one.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Great, good evening, everyone. That was quite a marathon, so congratulations for getting through that, and good job. One quick question before we go on to Nichols Road. What is on the table next between Dan and Brian?
A zucchini.
Any questions?
Okay. I was
Leslie
just making
brought
sure
a
that
zucchini
if
from
it was
her
a
garden.
cucumber, I was like, are you guys scaring away cats or something with that?
Yeah, no.
All right. So Nichols Road, we've completed some of the design this year. We've gotten to a point of about, I'd say it's about 35%. We hit a snag. The holdup right now in our design process is the building that's in flux. So the Nichols Road design is predicated on whether or not the building is going to go forward or not, and that is due to the fire apparatus bay that is tentatively designed to come out onto Nichols Road. And fire apparatus bays have to be very flat. And if that is the case, and if that does go forward, Nichols Road will have to have a fairly significant adjustment to the slope of the hillside between the library and City Hall. So if that does not go forward, then the original design concept can move along and we can keep trucking. So we're kind of waiting for that to happen. Once the decision is made on that, then we can keep moving along. But because of that, some of the design efforts for 2025 will have to be completed in 2026. So we're kind of kicking the can a little bit, and that's reflected in our budget request. So our budget request for 2026 is $130,000. $100,000 will be carried over from 2025. So the total cost and budgetary need is $230,000, but what you're approving tonight is a request for City Council to allocate $130,000. In that request includes getting the city to a 60% design. It gets us to the point of the DOT's review, an ARC review, so that's short for archaeological review, environmental document submittals and review, potential easement acquisitions, which likely won't cost the city a lot of money because what we're looking at acquiring is actually library property at this point. But it will cost in DOT review of those easement acquisitions, which will be the most expensive part of that. It does include a public information meeting that we will host in 2026 to bring residents up to date on the project. And then it also includes our utility plan submittal to the DOT. That includes things like storm sewer adjustments, if we have to adjust any water or sanitary structures in the roadway, which we should, but we are not relocating any utilities or replacing any other utilities other than a little bit of storm sewer with the DOT portion of this project. But if you look in the 5-year plan, there is allocation in 2027 for Nichols Road water main replacement. There's an old section of cast iron main right now that lies between well 1 and essentially what is the community center driveway, that if we're going to be digging everything up and under construction for essentially 2 years, it would make a lot of sense to get that cast iron out of the way and replaced with ductile, and then get a couple new hydrants in there and a little bit better valve control of that stretch. So that's pretty much the project. The next phases beyond that will be 2027 final design, and then the PS&E final submittal to the DOT for their final approvals. And then 2028 is kind of a lull year. We will likely bid the project in late 2028, October, November-ish. And then construction is slated to start 2029. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
So what's the connection between your first comment and the exit for the fire engines and that decision and this design? I mean, what's the timing of when you know about what's needed to level Nichols and doing the design now?
We basically do know what is needed to make Nichols Road more level in front of the apparatus bay. It's a matter of how that impacts sight lines at the Schluter Road intersection, which all of you know is kind of the focal point of, in terms of safety, outside of the shared use pathway that's a part of this project. That Nichols Road intersection is quite difficult to see when you're at it. It can present some pretty significant hazards, safety hazards, especially for crossing the street for pedestrians. And if the approaches, the angles of approach change, if they become steeper or flatter, it either shortens or elongates the sight line down the hill from Schluter Road in either direction. And so it's really important that we know whether or not the apparatus bay will be coming out onto Nichols or it won't. If it won't, then we can adjust the sight lines differently and, in all honesty, save money. If it will, then we got to adjust it for the apparatus bay, and that changes things. So there's some engineering that has to kind of stall and wait, until we get those things figured out.
And then that's contingent on a final plan for that building. Correct?
Yep.
That's the whole campus, yeah.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, so if you want to build the fire apparatus bay in the location that is being proposed, then the design needs to accommodate that. If not, then we can move forward as originally planned.
And does part of this money, this 130,000, is that increased because of this delay? And I know some of these costs you'd have to take in 26 anyways, but because the design has been pushed in to 26, does that make it more expensive? You have to pay 26 design rates versus 25 design rates, or is it all the same?
It is more expensive. We've ended up having to we've basically done 2 preliminary designs for that stretch, right? That section between Maywood Road and the existing fire apparatus bay entrance, the existing one, essentially where well 1 is. So we've had to do 2 designs there. Because of that, we've spent more money in design right now. And the halt in this is that we don't continue to spend more money on something that we may not need. Right.
But you had to get to this point to be ready to build.
Right. One way or the
Because of
other.
the federal funding.
Yep.
Yeah,
we had to keep trucking, so we had to get to a certain point where the design was at a good point, and that depending on what the decision is on the civic campus building, we can just keep trucking at that point. But any more delays and the schedule will start to get tighter, much tighter. So we got it, that civic campus building, I've been stressing it with everybody that I can talk to about it, but really a decision needs to be made.
Brad?
Yep. Thanks, Brad.
I have a question for Brad. So just, I'm sort of like anticipating a possible question that someone might want the answer to. So I see here in the tentative schedule that for 2026, one of the things on the agenda, one of the things to happen would be a public information meeting.
Yep.
And if a person is reading this and they're saying, oh, well, why are you having a public information for this project? what sorts of projects done by Public Works would automatically trigger a public information meeting? Some of them don't, and people are curious why they don't, and others do. And nobody's like trying not to be nobody's, you know, trying to be secretive about anything. It's just that those are the rules. Certain projects do trigger public information meetings, others don't. So for this one,
Yeah.
why would that be the case?
I feel like that might be a little bit of a two-faced question, right? So in this particular case, the DOT requires that you do public information meeting.
Okay, there you go.
In some cases, they decide on more than one. In this particular scenario, it's really, I mean, the most impact that it's having is on city right away in front of city properties, you know, the park, library, city hall, community center, senior center, pool. In other cases, if it involves a lot of residential properties, much like Atwood Avenue, then they have multiple public information meetings. So in terms of the city's process, I think it really just depends on how controversial the project may be, how the extent, the price, how much it impacts properties, that kind of thing. So really that's, feel like there's no city policy for it, you know.
I think the guidelines that we try to follow is if a project impacts frontage, driveways, things
Yeah.
like that, like a road project,
Yeah,
there will be public information meetings for something like that.
yeah,
Things that occur on city property, if there's a lot of truck movement, letters will be sent to a certain number of properties within the vicinity of, let's say, like City Hall.
yeah.
In the case of the Kelly Place Stormwater Project that we're about to kick off, there's going to be, we're gonna stockpile soil at the Healy Park parking lot grass area, but the project is 2 blocks away. So there's no project happening along Winnequa Road in that short section, but the folks that are near the Kelly Place Storm Project, they've been notified of like the truck traffic that's gonna be coming. But that's a project that's strictly on city property as well.
Yeah.
But the four properties that butt up against the city property, we've been in communication with them individually. So it really depends on the project, the kind of project that we have.
But a theme that I'm hearing is if it obstructs your ability to use a road, if it obstructs your coming and going, your traffic, blocking, yeah.
So like McKenna, when we did McKenna in 2020, we had 2 public information meetings for that. The 2017 road project on Toniawatha, there was 2, all delayed because that project was separated, so there was 2 for that as well. So usually if it's a road project, then you have the full-blown public information meetings.
And those meetings happened after everything was approved. You already knew that you were gonna do the.
They were during design. You usually hold those meetings around 60, somewhere between 30 and 60% design. Because there is feedback that you get from residents, because the right of way is impacted.
Sure.
So driveways, there might be some decorative component to a driveway that we try to account for, but so you try to have those public information meetings in the early to mid stages of design, so if there's something that comes up, you can incorporate that into the final design.
Sure.
And capture it in your bid documents.
But
the project has already been approved.
Exactly,
Yes.
the project was already approved, the money, I mean, the project was well along.
Right.
Before any of those information
Right.
sessions happened. The information sessions weren't for the purposes of do we or do we not do the project.
They're not approval meeting.
Correct.
You typically have your
correct.
public information meetings during the design phase.
Okay,
Because once you bid, a good time frame to bid is in January. Once you bid, you're moving into construction and you want all the public input, you want all the things you don't know captured in final design and you want it in the bid document.
yeah,
Because after that is a change order.
yeah,
And you don't want the change
expensive,
order.
okay. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I only want to add one point. The DOT does have 2 types of public meetings, they have public input, which is very, very preliminary. The design is conceptual at that point.
Yeah.
And then they have public information, which is the DOT is coming to you or the constituent and saying, this is the project.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, we've had it well thought out, it's scoped, it's good to go almost. We want all of you to know what the impacts are going to be.
Yeah.
There's chance for Q&A, but it's really just here's the information. So there's
Yeah.
two different types.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Brad. All right.
He can go.
You had your 5 minutes. Come on.
All right, right-of-way maintenance?
Right-of-way maintenance, that's the money that we use to do chip sealing, mill and overlay, spot curb and gutter repairs, some sidewalk repairs. We like to dedicate about 300,000 to the street maintenance, and then another 10 to any sidewalk and curb and gutter work. This year, we did heavy on chip seal. Next year, the plan is to do mill and overlay. We have areas that I have in mind on the tentative list. Section on Pheasant Hill Road, section of Midmore, south of Nichols. There's areas on Frostwoods, and on Winnicott Drive. Those are the areas that I'm going to be focusing on next year for the mill and overlay. But this has been a pretty steady amount that the committee and council has approved every year to do the maintenance we need to do for our city streets. So, any questions for that? Next item, Southtown Drive. John Solan from Strand was here a few months ago to talk about some preliminary designs for Southtown. We're coming back with a funding request for final engineering in 2026. We're seeking to modify the roundabout to make it more of a true single lane roundabout. Right now, there's some movements through there that are very questionable. We want to adjust some curbs. As John explained in the previous meeting, that will help make travel through the roundabout safer. Adjustments to the crosswalks. We plan to resurface Southtown Drive from the Beltline ramps to the railroad tracks. This is where the city limits is. The addition of the left turn lane at Royal Avenue, pending WISDOT approval. That one, we're still trying to get information on, but the traffic impact analysis that Strand has found from 1980 provides WISDOT with access control. So we cannot plan for that left turn lane unless we get the blessing of DOT. Walmart has been in communication with the city. They would like to see a left turn lane open there as well. So that will be part of our final design, is still continuing to work on getting a left turn lane put in. There's a good chance that we will not be successful in that, but we still do need to replace the asphalt and the concrete, especially the concrete near the Beltline ramps. And the goal is to modify that roundabout and make it safer. So.
What's DOT's potential argument for not
Yeah,
approving a left turn?
that was my question.
Too close a
Too
distance
close.
between the exit ramp and the left turn.
Uh-huh.
If you put a truck in that left turn, which we talked about
Right,
not
right.
allowing, traffic's gonna back up.
But
even
it
if it
only
doesn't
holds
get-
like 3 to 5 cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But even if it doesn't get approved, it doesn't mean that we can't keep seeking approval and put it in later.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if we don't get it on
Right.
the first try again.
It might be where we have to go higher and contact, some supervisors, state senators, things like that to help. It may get to that.
At the last meeting, when this was discussed, I thought it was really important to point out that when it was designed the way it was with no left turn, they expected much more
Yes.
traffic
Right.
than actually goes through there.
Right,
Right, new data shows that the numbers are not what they expect.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Some sidewalk improvements.
Yes, next item.
Where's 4 on that sheet? I threw 4 out somewhere.
Oh, that is.
Oh, you wanna leave?
That's my memory error.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
There
I
is
don't have
no
a 4 either, yeah.
I did it on purpose to see if anyone would catch
All
it.
right. I win.
You win. You can have the zucchini.
You
I
can.
get another one.
The number 4 got moved to number 1.
Yeah.
That's why we have more than one.
Honestly, I think I moved number 4 out, because my capital budget request was already pretty high. I think I bumped it to 2027. And there is not 2 number 4s there, so I had it correct in my bump, but.
Good bump.
Yes, so sidewalk improvements, this is for Metro bus stops. As you all know, we now have Metro service here in Monona. We do have funding in 2025. That is $50,000. We're using that to put in the concrete pads for the bus stops. That's a Metro requirement. There are some intersections that they require sidewalk to a concrete pad. And these lengths of sidewalk that need to be installed are greater than what my crew can do. So the estimate for construction and contingency at these 2 locations, Femright Drive and Shadow Lane and Pheasant Hill at Owen Road. The 83,000 would go, we would have to bid this work out, and Strand is the engineer to assist us, and then cost of construction. So that 83,000 should be enough to capture both of those costs. So after that work is completed, we should be all caught up with the Metro requirements for concrete pads and sidewalks.
And if I'm envisioning the Pheasant Hill Owen Road, that's from the corner at Pheasant and Owen for the short stretch to connect it to the sidewalk that's down Owen.
No, what their requirement is the sidewalk from the intersection. They just don't want to have a concrete pad and grass. So they want to, the requirement is to provide sidewalk to the intersection.
Oh, so very short distance.
Yeah.
What are the possibilities of them moving those bus stops over the years?
It's a great possibility.
I guess if someone will line up the numbers per stops before it might get final approval.
And they're generating that data and they provide it to the administrator, I believe on a monthly basis, so. But the total feet that we're looking at is 740 million.
Yeah.
For these 2 locations.
Pretty minimal overall.
Dan, is there a deadline on this? Like the city is required to put these in per our contract with Metro? I can't recall exactly.
Yeah,
To put that, I was gonna have a transit meeting next week, so they could.
I'd like to, there probably is a deadline, but they have to go at our pace to be able to get
Sure.
stuff done. Biggest thing is we're getting the concrete pads in for the bus riders to at least stand at the bus stops. And we're going at a reasonable pace. They understand that adding sidewalk is a bigger deal than just simply putting in a 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 concrete pad.
Right.
Like I said, we're doing the concrete pads with our crew, we're able to do that, no problem. It's just when you start getting into these greater lengths of sidewalk that we just don't have the crew to get the work done. I mean, if we had more crew, we could do it, but we don't. So,
And how many pads in total does this bring us to? You said we would complete all of the required pad installations.
I don't know
I
that off the
can't,
top
I
of
can't
my head.
remember either. Okay, no
I
big
wanna
deal.
say somewhere around 20.
I can get that,
for
yeah,
this year.
sure.
Yeah.
Just a question on maintenance, like for someone who their house is near those, when winter time's here, are they gonna be required to pull the snow out of those or shovel those, or is it city?
Honestly, I don't know that yet, but our crew is going to be clearing the pads and most likely the sidewalks that go to pads where there is no other sidewalk. My guess is our crew will do that just to get the equipment to the pad. So we'll use the ADA compliant ramp to get on the sidewalk, clear the sidewalk, and clear the ramp. That's my guess how we're going to do it. I believe that's just how Jeff's gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
We're learning.
Yeah, that's the best I can tell you today.
All right, how about Wallace Ave?
Any other questions for Metro Bus Steps? Wallace Avenue, improvements, from Nichols to St. Teresa. I did provide pictures, for this, and
it's horrible.
When
It's horrible.
when I first arrived in 2011, this was a street that, got some attention. So that asphalt that you see in these pictures was new in 2011.
Looks like the sun on
And
the
it
back
was
of
a
my
Band-Aid.
hands.
The roadbed needs to be replaced, and that's why you see the alligator cracking is because the roadbed is shot. The MG&E substation is right there. This is where their trucks stop and pivot. They do a lot of backing and whatnot in this area, but you can't blame the whole condition of the road on MG&E. And there's cast iron water main underneath this section, so there's just a whole lot that needs to happen in this short stretch of road. And there are other areas in the city that need to be done, but I think in addition to the 20 Watha Road project that we looked at earlier, we need to get moving on this small section, just because this road keeps falling apart. I don't want to keep sticking money into the asphalt, because it's always gonna turn out like this until we fix the road bed. Can't fix the road bed until we replace the water main. So we're seeking 70,000 in design, for 2026. To at least begin, getting some plans drawn up so we can, come back this time next year and see if I can get money to, do construction on this short stretch right here.
It is a pretty short stretch.
It's too bad it's not an extension of Nichols.
Well, I had,
Tried it.
yeah, I still have a mill and overlay request, further down, for Nichols. So it could be lumped in with that too, right? From Monona Drive to Maywood is a very long stretch, and, it's a big cost to do a mill and overlay.
But wasn't there a bunch of grant money associated with that from
Not
the
with that
regional?
portion, only the portion from Maywood to Pinnacle Road, because
They shifted
we're
it.
doing head safety enhancements with that.
Trying to find new money.
Yeah.
Is it correct to say that when you say design for this, that's kind of design of planning, if you will, and creating like bid documents? There's no design in terms of nothing's changing, the road is
No,
moving in
No.
a different way,
No.
layout
no,
changes.
the curb and gutter will stay. It's ripping out all the asphalt, it's ripping out all the old road bed, because by the pictures, just drive it, the whole stretch is shot. And then the path of the water main, so the trench where the water main is, that will be new as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's accurate to say planning,
Not so much design.
planning slash
Not in
design.
the way it goes.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot involved. This is the most straightforward road reconstruction project that's probably out there. If you take away the water main, it's really basic. I mean, but the water main is the driver here. We had water main breaks on this section, but the road has failed, so that's why it's here.
So the sewer lines and stuff around that area.
Yeah, and we do sewer main lining in lieu of replacement, because as long as the mains are not broken and offset too much, lining is the preferred alternative. You're essentially putting a new main within the main, so.
Given your discussion about this, a little surprising that it's a rank of 6 out of 7.
Yep, that's just because there's so much more that needs to be done.
We got plenty of projects, not enough money.
Right. Yeah.
Oneida Park Sanitary Sewer Lift Station.
I got one more yet.
Oh, what did I miss?
It's my
The
favorite one,
terrace tree
Brian.
planting.
Yeah, number 7.
We do this one every year.
I skipped that. sorry.
You're trying though.
Yeah,
Trying to keep us efficient, guys.
yeah. 25 grand, this is what we typically ask for, and we spend it every year. We remove dead trees in the terrace every year. This money covers the cost of buying new trees and planting them in the terrace, so.
Your rank 7, but it's a pretty good priority. Yes.
Okay.
Now on to Oneida
On
Park.
to sanitary sewer. Yeah. We are in the design phase right now for the Oneida Park sanitary sewer lift station replacement. In 2024, we did the Midmore and Winnicott Road sanitary sewer lift station replacement. We converted the old, we had the brick buildings with the deep pump wells there. We converted that to a submersible pump station. Got rid of the pump house structures there. We're looking to do the same thing to the Oneida Park sanitary sewer lift station. We're going to put in submersible pumps, but we also need to run a new force main. We did new force mains with the 2 in last year's project. The difference is with this one, the current force main travels south onto Tecumseh, takes a left turn to the east and goes between 2 properties in a very narrow 10-foot easement to the backyards. Then it goes diagonally on the bottom of Sumac Lagoon and discharges to a manhole on Birch Haven Circle. It's virtually impossible nowadays to replace that force main with that same route. So the plan here is to run down the right of way of the terrace of Oneida Park and make the connection at Winnicott Trail on Tecumseh. Deposit into a new manhole which connects to the existing system. Everything is on essentially city property until you get to the very end. It's gonna be far cheaper and less controversial than running through the easements that are very tight on the properties and on the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
Or the bottom of the Sumac Lagoon. So this is for construction, the portions of the force main will be left in place, they'll be filled, especially the portion underneath the Sumac Lagoon. The new force main will be laid, the new structure for the submersible pump controls will be installed, new SCADA controls. And then we also have the generator there that will be tied in for backup power. So the lift station was constructed in 1954. We did some mechanical equipment replacement in 1982. It's a confined space, everything about it is confined space. So the goal with these lift station upgrades that we've done last year and for next year, we're making them as operator friendly as possible by eliminating confined spaces as well. So it's also a safety upgrade. Looking at 1.1 million for that project. So,
Benefit of going submersible?
excuse me?
What's the benefit of going submersible?
They are more efficient. There's less maintenance components with them, and you can do everything from the top of the well out. There's no requirement for confined space entry to maintain the pumps.
Sewer main repair engineering.
Sewer main repair engineering, this is related to the I&I that we've been trying to address the past few years. We took a break from it to get caught up on some other things. So I'm seeking 25 grand again next year. We do have areas targeted that we want to line. This engineering will help review those areas from the recent televised reports that we've had, and then to put together some documentation to proceed with a lining project for the following year. So we do have some lining in the capital budget in 2027 We have the roads that we're intending to reconstruct next year in the 20 Watson project, so the following year in 27, we will go back and line those sewer mains. And then I believe in 28, I think we have another lining project coming up in 28 for this work that we're gonna do next year for the design. So we're kind of staggering the design and then the actual construction by 2 years, so. The reason why we're putting off the lining in the Toniawatha area is because we don't wanna be in the way of the reconstruction contractors. They come in with their large trucks, they have to spread out the fabric that they use to line the main. So it's best to do that when the project is done. Spot repairs will be made to the sanitary sewer. We'll come in after that and line it and put a new main within it. So.
Sanitary sewer on the lake side of Toniawatha is in people's backyards.
Mm-hmm.
So they lay it out on the road and then go to the backyard?
Well, Tim Torino is very familiar with this. He had this happen to the sewer main up in his area. We do need access. I'm not exactly sure how they do it with the mains in the backyards, but they can do it.
Yeah.
The contractor will communicate with the property owners what they need for access. We do some damage. That's part of the bid items.
Okay.
For any landscaping that we interrupt. But yeah, there's quite a bit of sewer main that is on the lake side of homes.
Yeah.
Along the Toniawatha sections, so. These are not fun areas to do, but the alternative is if we had the sewer main in the street, all those homes would have to have a grinder pump.
Right.
So the sewer main was put on the downside
Right.
so they could gravity flow.
Yeah.
So,
Is there any chance that, and I'm gonna speak out of turn, but in the meeting meetings when you discussed the sewer rate, part of it had to do, I think, where there's measurements at point in times, and I think a comment was made when the lake is high, the rate tends to be higher. Might this address some of those concerns?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
That was part of the discussion of, like, why is it we've invested so much in addressing our I&I? Infiltration and inflow, to address that flow of like, hang on, is everything we're sending to the sewage district really need to be treated or not?
Right.
And we've been investing a ton, and so we were trying to grapple with that problem of how can we be getting such an increase in a bill from MMSD?
When we've invested so much in, yeah.
When we've been addressing this year after year after year to reduce down that flow.
Okay.
And how that's where you probably heard the questions about, hang on, how are they determining these flow? Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, so it's,
I think Mark
you're
had said
following really
something
well.
about the timing and.
You might just end up on a committee.
No, thank you. I don't understand. Thank you. I couldn't talk about a roundabout, but I can guys talk about a roundabout.
Charges. It's
Thank
money
you.
well spent.
Yeah, money well spent. I'd entertain a motion for the capital project separate than equipment, so that way we can have another one kind of under our belt, get a little steam for our next part. So is there anybody willing to make a motion regarding the 2026 projects minus the water utility projects, because we already did those?
So approval. Second.
First and second, any other questions regarding projects? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome, thank you, Beth.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're through projects and we're moving on to equipment.
Okay. Equipment. Fun stuff.
Toys. Yeah.
That I don't get to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one, in the packet, you see the 5-year snapshot of the equipment coming due. It's not cheap. We have some big trucks coming due. And you might have gathered that in 2026, and I'll get to this, that we're gonna start like buying trucks that have a multi-purpose capability. So I'll get to that. The first item though, is we need additional funding for the tandem plow truck that we ordered in November of 2023. It finally made it to the production line in January of 25. And as you can imagine, what we had approved back then in 2023 was $249,000. That was just a placeholder. International truck, because nationally, due to COVID and the supply chain impacts that they had with materials and whatnot, the truck we ordered did not even get into the queue to be produced until like November of last year. And it finally went into production in January. We received it about a month ago, I believe. So we paid the bill for that. That went from 133.5 up to 137.7. That bill was paid. So now we're waiting to send it to Burke Truck for the upfit. We get discount pricing if we pay half of the upfit cost up front because they have to buy the materials, they have to buy the salter, the spreader, the software, all that good stuff, and you get a discount. So we paid the half down payment on that. We do not have enough funding to complete the upfit, the installation of the dump body, the plows, the plow attachments, the hydraulics and things like that. So I'm seeking an additional $40,500 to complete, so we have enough money to pay for the upfit. So once we approve the capital budget in October, then we'll know for sure if we have enough funding to then finish out this truck. Hopefully then we can have it for this winter to put into use for snowplow routes. But this is one of the impacts of COVID that we're still feeling today. International Truck finally got their supply chain, got their material suppliers back on track. They're producing the trucks and they're finally starting to get them out of the assembly line. Now we just have to wait for funding because we didn't have enough money to pay for the outfit because of the uncertainty of when it was gonna be produced, so.
You've put this in the 2026 budget, but in the past, when there's been an overrun and you needed to get something done, you brought a special request to this committee in the current year.
Yeah, I've done capital budget amendment requests before, usually because there's a balance that I can pull from a project that's been completed.
Okay.
There's nowhere I could pull from for something like this, and the finance director thought it would be best to just entertain it with the capital budget process.
Okay, so the others were more like transfers.
Yes.
Yeah, versus overspending.
Any questions for this one? Okay. Moving on to the next item, we're seeking some funding to buy some water leak detection equipment. As my request states, we did receive a third-party quote. We like to do these water leak audits about once every 7 years or so. Also, that does have an effect on the I&I that we get in our sewer system. Every system has water leaks. We feel it's time to do another audit. We got a cost estimate to complete that audit, which came in just under 20 grand. We can buy the equipment ourselves for just under $23,000 in 2025 pricing. I added 4% onto the quote we had, which brings my capital request to $23,825. I do believe that we will probably pay for this equipment within a 1 to 2 year timeframe just by the water leaks that and by that I mean right now it's wasted water. You know, it's electricity, it's wear and tear on the pump components, and possibly it's coming in our weak spots in the sewer system. So if we buy this equipment ourselves, we can do water leak audits every year. We can chunk out the city and do 10% of Maine every year. So so we're seeking committee approval and council approval to buy this equipment, so.
There is any specific training your staff has to have to.
Yes, yep, the manufacturer will provide that. So,
They hire a teenager, teach them how to use it.
I got a 17-year-old who's looking for a job. so-
But in the packet, you see the equipment,
Yeah, that's great.
that we're looking to buy, so.
How does, Dan, how does that work from the employee standpoint, so your workers, you know, having the additional hours to do that, the finding of those?
We'll do it within our current work time. Yeah, we don't, unless it's a high traffic area, that we feel the need that we need to come back when it's quiet. To get rid of the noise that we sometimes get. Then you just come in early, like 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that, but we should be able to do this within our normal budgeted work hours.
All right. You got a truck replacement.
Next one, I believe this is one that the mayor took out, last year. Coming back again, seeking 39 grand to replace the, 2012 Chevy Colorado. This is Brad's truck that he currently uses. He uses it every day and, when he does his inspections in the field. We're intending to buy, if approved, through the state contract, 2026 model Ford Ranger 4-wheel drive midsize pickup with eco boost. The points rating system is a 25. The vehicle will be 14 years old next year. We are beyond the standard timeframe, usually 7 to 10 years that you replace a truck of this age. But based on the points model and the inspection from our mechanic, we do have a points rating of 25, which qualifies the truck for replacement.
Does the replacement price include new toolboxes in the bed, or can you move those?
Those will most likely fit in the bed of the truck we are getting, but the price includes, I believe, a cap for the back.
And then he wouldn't use these, or he put the cap over these?
These will not be used, so we would either
Sell
see if
with
they
them.
fit
Sell
on
them at
another truck,
auction. I see.
or we would
Okay.
sell them with the auction. Just so you all know, it's the city policy to not include any trade-in value in these price requests. Apparently, the money that we get for sale at auction or trade goes to a different account. They want to see actual costs reflected in the budget, so. But more likely, this truck will go to auction once the new one arrives, so.
Is there any advantages to keeping this truck for a different purpose?
This one has been handed down to 4 different people already. It's still
sounds
drivable.
58,000
Yeah.
miles.
Yeah.
City council usually doesn't like.
I'll speak to this one.
Go for it.
There's equipment, hand-me-downs. For example, you give me a truck I don't have right now. And now when I need that truck replaced, I have an extra vehicle now in my fleet that I didn't have really approved. So let's say I have 10 cars in my fleet and Dan gives me one, now I have 11. Well, now when I have one that's due, I actually am now maintaining 11 vehicles in the fleet, not 10. And so when we have ended up in the past handing down vehicles, so Dan gave me this truck, we replaced that truck, now we have an extra vehicle in our overall fleet. That then becomes part of an asset that now I want to sell off that and buy a new one. So instead of maintaining 10 vehicles, we're maintaining 11, and then it becomes 12, and then 13, which has happened. We've taken public work vehicles, given them to parks, given them to city staff, and now next thing you know, we're maintaining a much larger fleet that we never approved.
The intent is for it to always go to auction, but something breaks, something goes, it breaks to the point you can't use it. It's like, well, let's use this one. It's waiting for auction. And then it'll get lost in the system.
Yep.
But the goal is always, unless otherwise requested or advertised, the goal is always, once you get your new equipment, if it's not intended to be passed down, it's gonna go to auction. Then the money comes in and we put that right back in the reserve account.
You do the Wisconsin surplus, state surplus auction?
I
or
believe
you
that's
do
the
your
one we
own?
go through.
Yeah, the state.
Yeah, there's two of them that we look at. Jeff manages, my deputy director, he's the one that manages the auction equipment, but I believe it's the Wisconsin surplus one.
Okay, I just need to know when to watch for this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's only got 59,000 miles.
But that said, there's gonna be a truck coming up that we just might go against what you wish, or what you like.
Brian, I guess I'm not sure, the point you were making, the summary of it is, you're trying to say, this is why it's better not to pass a vehicle down to someone else.
Because what we do is we end up passing it to someone that doesn't already have an allocated vehicle.
You grow your inventory.
You're growing your fleet.
You should authorize X number of vehicles.
Yeah,
And so if you hand it down, you just added one, it wasn't really authorized.
right. But to Tim's point, I mean, it does have low mileage.
If it was going to some vehicle that already existed, and that vehicle then leaves the fleet,
Right.
sure, but that's not what happens.
But if you have a need for that vehicle.
That's different, then you're allocating, do we
authorizing a new
need a new
vehicle.
vehicle?
Okay.
Right.
Well, I was taking the word authorizing as being approved by the city council versus.
So this vehicle has not been authorized, that's the issue.
No, if you handed it to somebody and bought a new one, then that new one was not authorized. Or the
Unless it
additional
was-
one was not.
What we as staff need to do is when we do replace something like this, we need to make you aware someone else is gonna take it over.
And do we approve that? Because now, if Jen didn't have a truck and I give her a truck, now Jen's gonna put in a request next year to
To
replace
get
that
a new
truck
truck,
for
right, oh, I see what you're saying,
38,000.
I see what you're saying,
And then
I see what you're saying,
we
okay,
just bought two.
That's
Got
what Brian
it.
says, didn't we replace that truck 2
got
years
it,
ago?
got it, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying,
I've seen this happen once before.
okay, alright,
Maybe more than
Just
once,
once?
maybe more than once.
alright,
And the other thing that's pertinent, seems to me, is if you feel like it's low mileage, ought to be driven, well, then you wouldn't replace it. But yet you've got this point system that says it's actually better economically to replace it.
There
right,
gets to be a tipping point.
Right.
yeah,
And that's why there's multiple factors, and that's why this has been canceled twice in
Yeah.
the budget before.
right,
Is because you are weighing some of those factors of our mechanic fills this out and he does a nice job of being able to determine, hang on, how much does this costing us in maintenance? When is it worth it from a maintenance standpoint?
We've been holding off on needed maintenance, so whoever buys this is gonna have to do some maintenance to it. We don't wanna invest dollars in it knowing that we could possibly.
They wanna buy it.
I mean, you can tell just by the age that it's gonna need some maintenance.
okay,
In my 2 cents here is a couple of times now I've taken tours. One of them, it was just Jeff that took me around. I met the mechanic. I saw his record keeping system and I saw what he does to maintain these
it's
vehicles.
amazing,
And I was amazed.
I know,
So to me, if he's got this point
Right.
system and he's
Right.
doing this and he says it's cheaper to replace.
right, you trust the
Yeah.
experts, yeah.
We use Fleet Maintenance Pro. It's a software program that he logs all the data in. The points rating system is based off the national APWA model with our own twist to it. So Tim might remember, Leslie might remember. We adopted that back in like 2012 or 13. It was endorsed by city council. This committee and council wanted something to support or justify equipment purchase. And this is what we use. Sometimes, even though the points say replace it, the mayor's budget sometimes takes it back out because there's different priorities. But every time that you take it out, the replacement vehicle is gonna be that much more expensive due to inflation. And, the loader, the next one is an example of that.
We're not getting tires again? That's a good segue to the next.
Yeah, so the John Deere loader has been taken out twice. It's a 2007 loader. We intend to buy this through a cooperative purchasing contract through the state. We test drove several front end loaders in 2024. We do want to stick with the John Deere. The replacement cost is $270. Back when this was first in front of the committee, when it was removed a few years ago, the price was $220. So just in a few short years, the price is, 50 grand higher. So the points on this is 35. We did put new tires and a seat on it in 2021. Were you in? Yeah.
Remember that?
That was our way of saving money then.
And there was
Yeah.
arguments about the seat.
So we put almost 17,000 in maintenance cost of this since 2012. And then you have the tires that were 10,000. Yeah, the tires were not cheap for us. So we're bringing it back. We are hoping it makes it through this time. So the cost we're seeking approval on is $270.
What's the lifetime expectancy on something like that? For this?
What is it? It's a 2007, right? Do you measure it in hours?
Yeah, there's operating hours on it.
Yeah.
This is 5,300
Seven
hours, and I think
years.
the life is also a function of the type of service.
It
This
is,
heavy
it's a
duty,
heavy duty
severe
service, somewhere around 12 years.
Yeah.
But because of the cost, you really, and I think that's what was the goal of the Public Works Committee in
Yeah.
2021, it was to milk that out a little bit more. We're gonna be at that point where it's not gonna be cost effective to keep it.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna need updates, so. I have that on another sheet, with the expected, ranges, but I think it's somewhere around 12 to 15 for a loader, because it's a high use piece of equipment, heavy duty.
That's a vision for my knowledge.
All right.
Does the 16.7 include does that include the tires? The town spent on the tires?
And we'll get that back through auction, whatever, I mean.
Oh, you say this, that 16.7 include the 10 grand in the tires.
Right.
Oh, no, it does not.
The maintenance.
I don't believe it does. That's not the way I read it. I mean, the maintenance, tires aren't maintenance. So the maintenance is.
Tires aren't maintenance?
Well, maybe not for this, for your car, yes.
Yeah, that seems.
All right, multi-purpose hook truck.
Okay, this is where we're gonna begin to get creative. Just because of, like, you've seen the 5-year snapshot on the equipment. There's 4 more years behind this, of roughly the same type of equipment and the same cost. So we have a plow truck coming due, and we have a leaf vac collection truck coming due. A 2007 International dump truck. I think the 2008 leaf vac collection truck. The leaf vac ranks 37 on the points, and the plow truck a 30. Both qualify for immediate replacement on the points model. And what we want to do here is buy a hook truck. So I kind of gave you some examples of that in the packet. You can see what a hook truck will do. So the goal here is to have one chassis. Right now, you in essence have 2 separate trucks. And you use the plow truck 4 months out of the year, and you use the leaf truck 3 months out of the year, and then they park. The goal here is to buy a chassis that will be used year round. You see the snow equipment on it. Now, that is not a dump box, that's a salt, a B box for salt. You have the spreading equipment, you have the wing plow, and you have the front plow for your snow and ice control package. You see a dumpster there. We have a goal someday of buying our own dumpsters at $4,000 to $5,000 a piece for our yard waste.
Right now, we spend about 20 grand a year to have Royal Container take those to Purple Cow. So our goal is to, if we get this kind of truck, is to take that over and haul the dumpsters ourselves. You see the leaf back hook system. So the 2008 leaf back truck that is aging out, this chassis, we would buy the trailer unit for it that the hook truck would secure. It's 2 cubic yards smaller than what we currently have. We have a 25 cubic yard truck now. This would be a 23. And then you also see the hydro excavating trailer mount for this truck. So we have our own sewer vac truck that we do not use to clean sewers. We never bought it to do that. We bought it to do hydro excavation. We bought it to do some minor cleaning or suction of our wet wells or manholes or our storm chambers. We never bought it with the intention of cleaning sewer main, so we don't do that. We contract that out. So when the VACCON truck that we have comes due, you're looking at somewhere around 320,000 to replace that truck. We would just buy this trailer for like 150. So the cost breakdown, kind of go through that in my capital budget request. It's 530,000 to buy the chassis and the upfits that we're intending for next year. If we were to buy these 2 trucks separately, the cost would be 604,000. So we're saving a little bit of money on that front end. We want to save more money in the future years in the operating budget. You know, like I said, we spend 20 grand a year having Royal Container change out our yard waste dumpsters. So we would take that over as 20 grand that we would not spend outside. We would spend that 20 grand on buying our own dumpsters, and then every year thereafter, we save that. So the goal here is to get one of these multi-purpose trucks now, and then in a few years to get another chassis. And then upfits as needed as we replace dump trucks or the VACCON sewer truck, things like that. So we're in essence cutting the purchases in half and providing our services with 1 truck that will be used year round instead of 2 trucks that will be parked in the garage for 2/3 of the year. So that's the goal with this multi-purpose hook truck with attachments.
Theoretically, the attachments are still gonna be used at the same frequency, but now the cab, or the truck itself, the chassis
The cab chassis.
is probably gonna wear out faster, right? Cause it's not gonna be sitting and resting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
a
I
cool
mean,
idea, but I guess it'll be seen if it really is.
Well, you're spending $604,000 for a truck to be used
Right,
3 months out of the year. And so that's a lot of money sitting there not getting used. So the goal is to, yes, use the chassis, use the truck the way it was intended to be used.
instead of sitting idle.
Instead of sitting idle.
Right,
So you're still gonna have the maintenance cost. This is where probably a mechanic would be able to give you a better opinion than what I am, but if you use a truck,
Right.
there's a benefit to using a truck.
right,
There's some negative components to not using a truck from
Right.
just sitting there.
right,
But we still intend to keep the multi-purpose truck 15 to 18 years.
yeah,
And you still have to invest dollars to maintain it.
Yeah.
So, just like we do now with our fleet.
right.
The only difference is you're saving half the cost.
And that cost, savings is even though this one you have to have dual drive.
Yes.
And so even though you're getting dual drive, it costs more, you're still getting the savings.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's what's unique about this truck. The reason why you get the dual drive is for the leaf collection equipment. You need the right hand steer.
Assuming you could only do that, the city or the mayor likes the idea, but you could only do one in the current year, do you have a priority of which one you would want to buy in the year? You would like to buy two back
Plow or
units
yeah.
and the truck, but you may need to give them a priority also.
Well, I guess here's what I was gonna say regarding what you don't like.
Yeah.
Until we get this program up and rolling, the 2008 Leaf vac truck, we would keep that.
Yeah. Sure.
Just to get rolling with this kind of program, because you do not want to take a leaf vac truck out of rotation if you don't have to, because we get so many complaints as it is, with all three trucks out there. But the goal then, would be to keep that 2008 leaf vac truck to get through this purchase, get this truck in the system, because before we sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we at one point will have 4 trucks, but that 2008, will be a backup, because these things do break down. We have 2 other trucks that we just bought 7-8 years ago. Every year, all 3 trucks go down because of a bearing, or something like that. So that 2008 will be a backup. When one of these trucks goes down, we're hopping in that one and getting it back out until we get this system up and running. That truck will eventually go to auction.
Yeah.
We are not planning to keep that in the inventory into the future. We might keep it a year or 2, just to make the transition to the multi-purpose truck system, and to have that 3rd truck in case one of these goes down, for a bearing repair.
And that's the piece that it's important, this meeting with the council had on of making sure our city administrator holds that to be true, because if not.
I can't hide a leaf truck, it will.
Because if not, now you got 4 leaf trucks.
Yeah, and you have to insure them, so you
Yes.
can bet that as soon as.
We're gonna write an end date on that insurance.
Yeah.
Policy.
As soon as the program is up and running and we've transitioned to the multi-purpose truck, the goal is to get that to auction, get our money back, and move on.
So it's good to have a little crossover time.
Yeah, especially with the leaf collection program.
What does it take to do a switch over for attachments? You had mentioned about, possibly using.
Instantaneous, we're talking
What?
just a few minutes.
Really?
Yeah, 10 to
Because staff
15
are
minutes.
doing
I've watched them pull
Yeah,
those up on the back.
it's just the hydraulic lines that
Wow.
you separate.
Yeah.
So.
Just like putting a
Yeah,
dumpster
it's-
up.
Yeah,
right.
if you watch a YouTube video of how
Okay.
they do dumpster change outs, it's just lifting the arm, trucking it and rolling.
I'm telling you, Teresa watches so many YouTube videos on dumpster.
Party on.
If you have nothing else to do.
There is so much.
The search
really
is like flooded.
Good stuff.
Is there
Weekend
any,
pens have got a lot better.
would these be stored in the garages that we have?
Yeah.
Is there any issue with ceiling height?
We would not do,
Probably switching.
the arm, inside the cold storage building, there is enough height with the arm. Inside the main building, there might be some areas you can't do that, so, good thing is all the dumpsters are outside, so there's no restriction there.
Interesting, yeah.
The leaf vac units are held in the cold storage building, and we have clearance there. So that's a very good question. The VACCON unit, when we get to that point, when it's on the truck, it'll be on the truck. Otherwise, it'll be stored out in the cold storage.
Yeah, you don't quite know how high those things
Yeah,
are.
yeah. So under normal operation, we'll be fine, but yeah, when you operate that hook, I'll have Jeff double check that hook height.
Good.
But we should be able to meet that clearance in the cold storage building.
Yeah, I think it'd be okay, but you never know.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion for recommendation for approval of the 2026 equipment?
I'll move approval.
A second?
Second.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. We are through
Thank you.
Item 6D, which became 6A.
Yeah.
So now we will go on to 6B, which is discussion consideration of ordinance establishing a no parking from here. And it will tell you where here is to the corner at 6300 Bridge Road.
Over here. Okay, this one comes to the Public Works Committee at the request of the Public Safety Committee. This went to them first because they received the complaints. Chief Cheney and the Safety Committee does recommend that they send a recommendation to us. We can endorse the recommendation or not. That no parking here at the corner be signed. It's roughly 30 feet at 6300 Bridge Road. And the people who live there are actually, I believe, the ones who made the contact with the PD. So they're well aware of this request. So I have a little map with a little orange line showing where the parking restrictions would be. I gave a little view of the tree there. I think Chief Cheney took that. Those two cars are actually parked. One obviously east of the driveway and one west of the driveway. So that's a big tree, and with the cars there, it's hard to see, and then you gotta creep out just to see the travel lane.
Would remove the tree.
Beautiful tree.
I'm teasing.
Well, my question was, is there anything that's different about this intersection versus any other one where, I mean, it seems to me the big culprit is the tree. Like, when I drove through it, yeah, there's a car there, but there's a tree.
Monona's Tree City.
Yeah, you don't
So,
cut down trees.
Yeah, which I totally get, but you're really establishing it to protect the tree.
Right, yeah, I mean, when these sightline issues come in, you really look at it as a case by case basis, just because every intersection is different. This one, you have a huge healthy tree. And I know city leaders, I guess city leaders, city staff, residents, everybody really values the trees in Monona. So the next option is we put up some signs and you restrict parking to make those sightlines, intersection sightlines better.
And it really doesn't seem like it would put out, it doesn't seem like it would be a terrible inconvenience to have
That
no
house has
parking.
parking on Midwood.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
How, what did you say?
That house has parking on Midwood. So
Yeah,
there's no need,
to park on Bridge.
that's why that
But-
resident is the one that brought it forward.
Are they the
Right,
ones, they're
yeah.
not the ones parking there.
Correct. And they've had other issues where the vehicle doesn't move for weeks.
Right,
Oh
right.
my, isn't that against the?
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why it went to public safety
Yeah.
and it was endorsed by PD, so.
Okay. You gotta wonder.
Um,
I drove down there and I didn't have any issues because there were no cars parked there at the time, so.
I just took it on my way at night, and I mean, I experienced the same thing, you gotta pull out to
Oh,
be
you
even
did?
with the parked cars, to be able to see down the hill far enough,
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
it does make sense to me.
Okay,
All right, any questions from the group? If not, we need a.
Is this a first read?
No, there
we,
is,
we don't
well,
do that
we don't
at
do
public
that.
works.
it's just a read.
That happens at council in the first and second reads.
So I
That's where we
recommend
are.
approval by the city council, which is awesome, so.
Yeah, it was just,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Awesome. That has passed. We go on to 6C, which is discussion and consideration of the ordinance establishing parking restrictions at various locations to accommodate trash collection. Damn.
This is at the request of Pelletieri. It is, all of the requests are for Fridays only of each week, 7 AM to 5 PM. And they are in areas that we have narrow streets with no cul-de-sac turnarounds. Or if there is a cul-de-sac turnaround, if there's a car parked there, there's not enough room to turn their rig around. Pelletieri has some huge trucks and on Pocahontas, Nishishin Trail, Starry Avenue, Those are all dead end roads with no turnaround, so they have a hard time with cars parked on both sides of the road. They have to pull in, back out, back in to collect both sides. With this, they want to, they're gonna communicate with all the residents to have them put the carts onto the side of the street that has no parking. So they're able to collect each east and west portion of the road at one time. Which makes it safer, it's easier on the operator. As far as Arrowhead Drive and Southern Circle, those restrictions again are for Friday only. Just so that big truck can swing in the cul-de-sac.
So you're saying that some people need to get their bins across the street?
Yeah.
In winter that.
Yes, yes,
Get pain.
Yeah,
yep.
that could be.
If it's
Well, I
really
mean-
bad weather and the plows haven't come through yet, yeah.
Well, whether it's your driveway or your frontage
Yeah,
or 22 feet more,
yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be a pain in
right,
the rump.
no matter
either way.
what.
How did our previous contractor handle these streets?
They
do it?
handled it the same way and they struggled the same way.
Yeah.
It's just they didn't ask for
Yeah.
some accommodation.
And what will happen on weeks where there's a holiday in the week and it moves to
That's
Saturday?
my
My question too.
Well, I mean, but will the residents may automatically move across the street?
There's
Potentially.
4 that are bumped
Yeah.
for our program. So the carts will be out. And because these restrictions are for the people who live there, I think you're kind of crossing your fingers that they'll know.
It's more the no
Yeah.
parking than it is the bins. I agree, they'll
Yeah.
probably move the bins across.
Yeah.
But there might be cars parked there on a Saturday.
It's possible.
Right,
Yeah.
but if the cars are there, hopefully the people who live in those houses will get them off the road so they can complete the trash collection.
And in those locations, it might actually be the owners that are parking there.
Yeah. So
For most of them, yeah.
Or their friends.
Pelletieri has a component with this, and then we have a component. We'll take care of the signage, they're gonna take care of the communication with the carts to get them on one side
So
of the
they'll
street.
get all the people at their meetings complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly,
Worried
I
about
mean,
crossing the street in the snow.
would any of you really have heartburn with putting your cart across the street?
No,
No, but if I were 80 years old, I might.
Right, but if you're
In
80,
snow.
but you're still gonna have a problem whether
Your
it's
own
on your side of the
driveway,
street or
yeah.
not.
Right. Yeah,
So,
maybe.
plus
But
there's-
that's a farther distance.
There's good neighbors too, I think, I don't know this for a fact, but I do know that neighbors help neighbors when it comes to
I
elderly
hope
and
so,
stuff like
yeah.
that, so.
Well, and speaking as a household that only has 2 people in it,
What?
you know, speaking as a household that only has 2 people in it,
Mhm.
in the winter, I don't always put my garbage out
Yeah,
every week.
Right.
You know, it's frozen.
Yeah, doesn't stink, not in winter.
It's recyclables, yeah.
And so if it's crappy
Yes.
weather,
That's
you
true.
can't wait till next
But
year.
it is, bins just don't fill up very quickly.
That's true.
with only two
Well, the
people.
recycling does.
Recycling does,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah.
here.
that's always gonna go.
Yeah,
So Dan, this might be a question that doesn't mean. You can keep it very short. If you don't know, don't know. If I put more than one trash bin out in front of my house, they know they're over collecting per address by their GPS. How are they adjusting if you're moving to across the street? Because that was one of the issues. If they missed the trash or I got extra trash and you live across the street, I put it on your side. And now they're double collecting. Or is Pelletieri just not worried about it in these locations?
Yeah, these are not on border streets for recycle.
Okay.
And any, seeing as though these streets all have collection on the same day,
It shouldn't be a problem.
if somebody has a second card, it's not gonna be a Monona card.
Okay.
It's gonna be a Pelletieri.
It'll get flagged.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a note goes out from the city, I think, it's delayed till Saturday.
We do a burst on the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pelletieri also does a burst.
Right, so I'm thinking Pelletieri in their burst, if they could localize these streets, they could send a burst saying, it's Saturday, please help us by
Not parking on.
not
Right.
parking on that
And we
side.
can even do the same in our burst.
Yeah.
yeah, your text.
Are you keeping time? comments?
No, my
Okay.
dog needs his
All right.
medication.
Is there a motion for approval of this item?
I'll move approval.
Second? Second. Any other questions or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're through 6, on to 7. Operations report, it's in the packet. Dan, if there's anything specific you wanna highlight, if not, you can say, read the packet.
Just real quick, the chip seal program is done. The second sweeping per contract is gonna happen on Friday. The mill and overlay is scheduled to begin the week of August 25th, with things wrapping up in the week of September 5th, so that's good, getting that project done. And Kelly Place Stormwater, they have signs already put out. They're gonna get rolling here, I believe, next week. That one's gonna be a really fun and interesting project. So if you ever get by there during the day, I believe they said 68 semi trucks of storm
My.
trap. It's gonna be huge. So if you're fascinated by that sort of thing.
Storm trap.
There you go.
It's what went in at Stonebridge Park, but much bigger.
Okay,
Yeah.
the trap itself.
Yeah. But there's gonna be a big hole in the ground. This structure is gonna be huge. There's gonna be cranes. This is when it comes to stormwater and stormwater treatment, we are getting $1 million in grant funding for this.
Good.
It's a huge project for Dane County. It's gonna have a lot of eyes on it, and it's something that Monona, when everything is said and done, can be pretty darn proud of. So if you get a chance to see it during construction, it might be worth it to go peek at it, so it's gonna be pretty cool.
Do you have any idea how those semis are getting there? Are they coming through one of the road or?
Yes, they will be traveling our roads, Midmore and McKenna. A local resident who's impacted by the project has acquired another home impacted by the project. And the storm trap structures are gonna be stored in the parcel. This is between the contractor and the property owner. So they have all that figured out, but it's gonna be like clockwork. But it's gonna be, this is huge. It's a huge residential project. Speedway is the contractor. They have done tons of big jobs. They're well aware of all the issues that this presents in a residential neighborhood. But they also know that this is a very important project just because how big it is, how much grant funding we're getting for it. This is pretty cool. This is something that people in my position kind of love, having something like this.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if it's good or bad if it's good publicity or not, but it's so big. I would think we would read about it in the Clean Lakes Alliance.
Our projects, for some reason this year at the Clean Lakes Alliance annual meeting, they did not cover stormwater projects like they have in the past, and I don't know if they are gonna get back to it. But in their report, they always highlighted cities and what they've done stormwater related. We've been featured in that handout several times. This would be one that would for sure probably front page. So it's huge. This drains quite a large area that will be passing through this chamber. It's gonna clean a lot of water. So.
When do you expect it to be completed?
I think substantial by winter.
So it's starting.
Yeah, it'll be finished next year, but they gotta rock and roll. They have to move the sanitary main, and then they have to get this big structure in, have everything functional before we roll into winter. So, yeah, this is a good big project.
All right, our next meeting is September 3rd.
Yep.
It will likely be an operations budget meeting.
Yes. Not as, it won't, it should not take as
No.
much as this one did, so.
Usually pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
All right, we need a motion for adjournment.
Move, second.
If you could pick on first and second, they all chimed in.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you guys. Thank you, Beth.
Yep. Night.
Good. Dan, I set this aside.
Trying to figure out